Welcome to the amazing world of Elmore,
a cross-dressing podcast.
Today is gonna be awesome!
She's as cool as nighttime, she's as bright as day. When she looks in your eyes, she takes your breath away. She can move a mountain, make a fire start. On a smaller scale, she could break your heart. She's a lady, a fine lady. She looks like an angel, she's sent from above. A super lady. And with this kitten I'm bitten by the bug they call love. Now the lady may be mine.
Yeah, you want to start with your little story?
Yeah, but I wanted to tell you, I went on Amazon today and I bought myself a couple of books. One of them was called The People's History of the United States, and it's a book that documents the history of the United States, but actually told through the perspective of the people who were, the workers, the women, the people of color. And I was very excited to read it because I got recommended to it on TikTok.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Because I want to spend... My goal this summer is to not sit in my office the whole summer and play video games like I did last summer. I really want to try to read more this summer, and I want to start by learning more based shit,
Yeah, learn, based shit, learning some theories probably.
Yeah,
good.
I want to be able to sort of, actually talk about the stuff that I preach,
Yeah, I borrowed from Elsif. Mm-hmm. I borrowed from their fiance. I borrowed a copy of the Communist Manifesto, and
yeah, do we have a copy of that at this house?
No,
we
we
need
should
to
get
have
some.
one. That's it needs to be loud and proud on here.
Yeah.
But the other book I got was called The Conquest of Bread by Peter.
I've heard of that.
Kropotkin. That was one of the ones that people kept recommending. Yeah.
I think that's a name in communism.
He's Russian, so
yeah.
He's a big,
That's a communist, I think that is theory.
Yeah, and that was a big book that people kept talking about mentioning because I did research, what books do I start with? And that was the one that they mentioned, so I'm going to get those. I'm very excited to read them.
That's very exciting.
I know, but this has absolutely nothing to do with the podcast.
Yeah, because this is the amazing world of Elmore.
A something podcast. We don't know yet. It'll come to us. Welcome, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us today.
And listening to our leftism. And if you have any books out there about communism or anarcho-communism or Gumball.
Or Gumball. we should write a Gumball essay book.
I would love that.
I would love that. We'll just compile your encyclopedia that you're making.
I am making an encyclopedia over here for the listeners. I'm using OneNote to make my notes, and anytime a character or a concept or whatever is referenced, I'm cross-referencing back to their own separate pages. Those pages are blank as of now, but I don't know what to do with them, but they're hopefully going to be repositories of information.
Yeah, and it'll be really useful when we start getting into season 3 and 4.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that this is a lot of effort I'm putting into now that's going to pay off in a year or something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But hello everyone again, welcome back. This is our 4th episode that we're recording.
4th episode.
Can you believe
crazy.
it?
We're doing this once a week, so that's a month of doing this.
That's insane.
Feels good.
It feels good. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's week 4. It's only week 4. It's wow, we've been doing this for 4 weeks already. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very nice. I was trying to
I saw that you were toying with that, and I was waiting for it to
I knew it. That's why I was toying with it so much. Is because I was trying to put it back without ruining the mic, but I did it anyway.
That's okay. But, yeah. So, how you going? Or how you doing? What's going on in your world?
Well, I haven't gone back to the hospital, so I'd say I'm doing better.
I ask you that we don't talk every day, but...
Yeah, I have gone to my therapist consistently, and that's been nice. Got my new shoes for my flat feet, and that's been great. And I went back to work, and that's been not good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's work. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be there, but... as far as work's concerning, it's tolerable.
Yeah.
It's better than when I worked at the place that I heard the N-word at multiple times.
With the Nazis? With the Nazis.
With the Nazis that actually came out and did the salute. Yeah, that was
horrifying.
Oh, and by the way, guys, the company didn't do anything about that when I brought it up to their attention.
You can read your Glassdoor review all about that.
Yeah, I wrote a Glassdoor review, and
tried to.
Glassdoor denied it. Because I used the word Nazi, I think. Mm-hmm. Which is I guess they just don't want to know the truth.
No. They don't want to be these companies that hire us, they have Nazis? That's bad PR.
Yeah. That sounds like more conversations for our leftist podcast more than our Gumball podcast.
You're right. Let's get to what people were actually here for.
Let's get to the meat and to the potatoes.
Yeah, 5 minutes into this, basically.
The meat is the end and the...
The end and the...
Dress.
The dress.
That's
the
potatoes.
Duh. That's right. Yeah.
I never changed them in my notes.
So
it still says the third and the dead.
I have some preliminary thoughts that I'd like to discuss overall.
Please.
I was watching The Dress, and I think The Dress... maybe I'll save that for later.
If it's what I think it is, I have a note about that for the end of that episode.
Okay, so I'll save that part. But I was just watching these episodes, and I was like, I can't wait till next season. I honestly cannot wait until this show gets so good.
This is the slog.
Like
it's still not like awful,
fine.
But like The Dress, I'm gonna say like up front is the same level as The Debt.
I think The Dress is my least favorite.
It's at mediocre at best, and that's sad to see with this show, but also kind of positive to see because this is the worst it ever gets, which means it never gets bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I liked the end a little bit more, but again,
the end is good.
The end is pretty good, but we'll talk about The Dress. But let's start with the end. So,
I have history here.
Oh, sure. About the end or about Gumball?
About these
or
episodes.
I guess either or. Okay, sure.
They premiered on May 23rd of 2011. Okay. And I have the debut characters again.
Oh, nice.
Characters that debut. They are all from the end. All the characters that show up in The Dress have officially been shown off already.
Oh, that's
nice. So first no premiere episode is that one. So the debut characters are Mr. Small, Charlie, which is a character from the Rainbow Factory, but he's a named character, so I referenced him.
Which one is he?
He's like a cloud, a big, fluffy, like... He's like if Peter Griffin was Masami's uncle.
I don't remember who you're talking about, but I'll have to look at it, and I'll probably be like, oh, when we see it.
Karen.
She's in this?
Yeah, she's just like a
background
thing.
Oh,
she's not relevant. That's most of these characters.
Her name's
Lenny, which is also a Rainbow Factory worker. That's the one that looks like he's made of Legos. He's kind of weird in 3D. He's green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Paperball.
Paperball. I love Paperball.
I didn't know that was his name, but I don't even need to describe the character to you. You know who that
I love him. I love the characters whose names are just what they are. That's great.
Colin, which is one of the two eggheads. The egg kids. This is the one with glasses.
Yeah, not the one with braces.
Felix is the other one, and he does not show up.
Is he the one with braces?
He is the one with braces.
That's the one I remember.
Betty, who is the old lady that kind of looks like broccoli.
I love her.
And Daniel Senecourt is mentioned.
Yeah,
Nicole's
Grandpa.
dad is mentioned.
I have thoughts about
Doesn't seem like he's actually the character we get to know in season 6 yet. I have a little note about that, but he is technically mentioned. You know, once you take on the context of the whole show, it's obvious that he's being referenced here.
Yeah. Who else?
And that's it.
Oh, okay.
That is all, but I do have listener comments if you want to get into those.
Yeah, let's start with that. So, the end, I'll just preface and say that this episode was written by, because we'll talk about the writing and stuff, and these viewers' thoughts kind of lean into that, but this episode was written by Ben Buckley, John Foster, and James Lamont, storyboarded by Ben Marsad. But yeah, go ahead with our listener comments.
Alright, so we got 2 of them this time, both nice and long, I appreciate that. First off, we have the guy 789 again. You are a recurring member of the team at this point.
Can you just, tell us your name?
Do you want to just be referred to as, Guy, or
because, Guy is so generic. Not in a bad way, I'm not insulting your username, but, for our podcast, I want to refer to you as, a cool name. Unless you really like Guy, then we can make that.
I'm totally down with that. If you want to have a nickname or something that we tell you, since you seem to be interacting so often, we'd be more than glad to give you one.
And we greatly appreciate that. We're so excited. We're picking up steam a little bit.
Yeah.
We got over 100 downloads, and I know this was in the middle. I'm sort of interrupting, but I just wanted to mention that. We got over 100 downloads, by the way, which is pretty pog. Mimi. Sorry, my cat is scratching a box. But thank you guys for listening and giving us feedback like this. We appreciate it. Go ahead.
She's going again. The guy, as we said, or whatever you want to be called. First off, his pronouns are he, him.
Yeah.
There was kind of some confusion about who this really comes from, and I'm going to take the L on this one, Guy. I think your comment in hindsight made it obvious that you don't actively use they them, but it's you don't really basically that was his note, is that he doesn't really mind getting basically like misgendered with pronouns. Doesn't really bother him. So that's why. But he does not actively use anything but he, him.
That's
So my apologies, but he
Small
doesn't
thing.
seem really upset.
Yeah, I think we probably have both of the summaries of his notes. So you go ahead and read one of his comments, and I'll read some of the other things.
All right. Well, first thing is we are still getting Darwin's voice actor's name wrong. That's Kwesi, and we keep getting the last name wrong. To the point where I literally just have on here a link to a video where he says his own name.
Okay, I think probably the same one I watched.
Yeah, it's an interview when he's talking about the movie he's in about autism.
Oh, yeah!
So I have it right here. I'm just going to play it.
How are you?
Now, how do I pronounce your name correctly?
Boache.
Boache.
Yes.
Boache.
So we now, that
Kwesi
is coming
Boache.
from the source himself.
Boache.
Boache.
Kwesi Boache.
Hopefully we will not get that wrong
I think
anymore.
I can stick that in my head. Okay.
Boache.
Now that I heard him say it, I think I can do it. Kwesi Boache. Okay.
Boache.
I'm sure we immediately fucked it up.
Maybe, but we're just trying to mimic him, so hopefully that's good enough.
Yeah. But, go ahead.
So we finally got that. Last episode, Guy talked about Darwin like having multilingualism and that maybe like stemming from his time kind of acting as a pet to people. And I was wondering whether or not that was headcanon or if there was some sort of evidence for it. And he says that it is headcanon, but he does think that there is evidence to show it, which is the best headcanon.
Yeah. I'm curious what that evidence is, what we will see later on.
Maybe that's in the stuff he sent us.
Oh, maybe. I did actually go through some of it.
I did not have the time. I wrote my notes like immediately before recording.
I glanced through some of the links you provided to us earlier, and I started looking at your blog on the Gumball Wiki. We skimmed it, but it's very detailed. We should absolutely read that if you have time. It's very detailed. He's got thoughts and stuff about all those episodes and the seasons and stuff. So thank you for that resource, and check it out if you haven't. If you haven't already, it's great. It's on the Gumball Wiki.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and I'm going to try and kind of burn through these a little bit quicker because these are both very long comments.
Yeah.
So, also, Gumball does in fact not wear shoes. We weren't sure.
Know! I feel so stupid now because I'm like... I read his comment, I was like, oh, yeah, I knew that.
Right.
I was like, I felt so dumb after that. I was like, yeah, of course.
But yeah, Gumball does not wear shoes. Harry Gedges is the character's real name.
Sorry,
we have been calling him Gary Hedges. We've been calling him Harry Gedges.
Yeah, we've been...
His pseudonym is Gary Hedges.
Him.
We've been he's in like witness protection, so we've been doing far worse than dead naming him. We are so sorry, Gary. If there's anything we can do, reach out to us in DM and we'll like send reprimandations or something. Terribly sorry about that. Mr. Robinson calling Gumball is not really a he's respects your identity thing. It's the writers. The writers didn't know that they didn't know that his real name, or like not real name, given name was going to be Zach. They didn't know that yet, so that's the guy did point that out. But yeah, like I knew that already, but like I should probably specify when I'm talking about like headcanon stuff, but I don't. If I'm talking about something that's just like, this is how I justify it in universe, I'll just talk as if that is the character's motivation. I guess I probably shouldn't do that, but that's basically what I was expressing was that I think it just seems like he does seem to, because he wouldn't know. Yeah. He wouldn't have known given the lore of the world.
I wonder when they made that decision. But that's a conversation for another day. I assume that
they probably did it like right before making the name or shortly before. But like I don't know if we know that for sure.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
So his comments on the episodes themselves. The end is a good concept, has a lot going for it. It's got a lot of sharp gags, and it's fun to see the brothers grapple with this like idea of 24 hours to live. But it falls a little flat because the clock that we see throughout the episode and the actual passage of time within the episode does not line up. And I kind of have notes that kind of touch on this, so we'll go into detail on that.
Can I read the one his thought about the dress?
Please, you can jump in anytime.
Sure, I kind of I summarized it as much. I'm not going to read the whole thing verbatim, but if I leave anything out that's major that you have, feel free to add.
Yeah, that's always going to be a possibility because we both shorten you guys' comments just to try and not make this such a long section.
But the guy likes that the dress explores the idea of pretty privilege, which is something that that season 1 really wouldn't do. It seems outside of their wheelhouse, which absolutely makes sense. And he likes that the show doesn't mock Gumball for wearing the dress, which I really like too.
I do like that.
I agree with that. I
Gumball's not made to be like ridiculous for this. And also another thing he said about that was that very little shows nowadays would do that, let alone shows from 2011.
That is very interesting. Yeah. I think of a lot of cartoons when a boy was wearing a dress, it was definitely always like, the boy's wearing a dress.
Yeah, there's definitely like a lot of toxic masculinity that came out in shows around then and before, and still to this day.
Mimi, are you okay? Sorry, my cat is having a hairball now. I'm sorry. I can't lock the door. It will be only worse.
She's just a co-host. All the cats are.
She's an uncredited co-host.
Yeah, she is.
But ultimately, he thinks that, of course, there's the issue with Darwin, which we'll talk about. So let's save that for that.
That is a common.
That is, I think,
feeling.
a very common feeling. Yeah, but we'll get to that. Let's not get there yet. But that was pretty much all I had for his comments about the dress.
So the other person that gave us a comment does have a username, but has specifically requested they be referred to as Tip, and I just used a they, but the pronouns are she, her. I did have a little bit of a comment on that. I don't want to, we've said before we're not going to spread negativity, and I don't want to do that. But as a transgender woman myself, I do feel a little bit offended about the way that you just kind of like talked about pronouns as if it's something to just offhand disregard the idea of someone like having pronouns that don't fit the ones you would assume for them based on their looks. And I just say I did not like that part of your comment. But that was not what you wanted us to talk about, and so I will leave that at that because I don't want to be too negative.
But I think it's a valid point, and if you get upset that we're talking so much about pronouns on the show, well,
we warned you.
We warned you from the beginning, and it's only going to get more. So not worse. I was going to say worse, but that's not quite the right word. It's only going to get more better. But yeah, go ahead with the comments.
So she said that Darwin is based off of Ben Beauclair's childhood friend Paul. And apparently he hung around the house so much that his dad called him son.
Where are your sources?
I don't know
that I
the source
disbelieved
on this,
you, but I was curious, like, where do people find this information exactly?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
But apparently that's it. That's cute. It's kind of similar to what we would have done, except you did not get called any part of the family. Instead, we were made fun of for us being gay because we hung out so much.
Yeah.
Which, not so great. But all the 3 kids of the show, they voice other characters on Cartoon Network, or I think just in like cartoons in general. There's Logan Grove does Beast Boy and Young Justice. Quasi, what was it again?
I already forgot. Boachi.
Boache.
That's right. I knew.
I forgot it too. I had to process. I'm not going to take that W. That was not earned.
Fuck.
But he voices Gossamer in the Looney Tunes show. And Kyla...
Gossamer? Who's
that? That's the big red hair ball.
Oh, I love that. It's like my favorite Looney Tunes character.
You don't ever really see his name in like the
I didn't know
stuff.
that they had a name.
Yeah.
They are a non-binary icon.
I feel it.
I'm as a non-binary person, I'm gonna adopt
reclaiming.
I'm gonna reclaim it.
Also, Kyla Ray Kowalski voiced Meow in Adventure Time. His character is kind of funny. Later in the show, maybe like mid to the show.
We'll have to keep an eye out for it when we get to
I'll let
Adventure
you know.
Time. That'd be cool.
WC stands for Water Closet.
Yeah.
That is what that means.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
knew WC stood for something, but I did not remember what it was. But then it made sense because of the show, of course, is like it's not developed is quite the right word, but it's produced in Europe, so
in the United
it makes
Kingdom.
sense why, like, despite the American setting, there's some like weird
I think it's done in Ireland in particular because the credits talk about like the government of Ireland, like thank you for film rights or something, like help like giving us money. The British cast for the show, there is a British cast, and they use American accents, and that's characters like Nicole.
Wild to me.
Yeah, but Tip says that she thinks you can kind of hear it in certain words.
Yeah, I've noticed that sometimes.
I don't know if I've noticed that, but I also don't really keep an eye out for it, and I'm not super great with
when we
accents
watched the
in
show
general.
together, there were a few times I heard a word that Nicole would say, and I was like...
I think we commented on it
There was a couple times, but I'm sure we'll pick up on it more.
But I haven't noticed it yet. So, they did not enjoy the dress, even as a teen. I guess that must be when the show first aired this. They did not like it as a teen, and it may have been a tribute to old Tex Avery shorts. I noticed, Tip, you must be a fan of Looney Tunes, because you referred to it a couple of times. It's just very sweet. I like the Looney Tunes history. I think it's very interesting.
How is this similar to that?
Because because Bugs Bunny loves dressing up as a woman, like just he's very campy. Mm-hmm. He likes dressing up and being all looking good, and like it always does that same trope of now the characters are infatuated with you because you look so pretty, just because you put on a dress.
Right.
But this does not have any like sort of wild takes that a Looney Tunes would have, and they did note that, or she noted that. She also does not like Darwin's brother Lust.
Yeah, well,
does not feel like him. We will get to that because that is very noticeable and obvious. And
I have
also she didn't like that he's 10 and already lusting after women.
Oh yeah, I remember that part of the comment. I have part of part of their comment was they believed the car is the first true season 1 episode, as it gives us a proper introduction to the Wattersons, and is the first episode to actually be written, they say, or she says. So that's interesting.
Yes,
I don't know when that is. I don't think that's coming up on our list anytime soon.
I'm not sure when that is, but we will get to it.
Mm-hmm.
So Darwin's Tale is very animated in this season. I can't say I ever noticed, but that does sound very cute. Apparently he'll like droop it when he's under stress or disappointed or whatever, and sometimes he'll twitch it and even wag it like a dog, which I think is really adorable. But she says it's a nice overlooked detail. And also we have Darwin's full name here, thanks to I can't say I'm going to necessarily say these like
Would
names
you like me
right.
to try?
Please, go ahead.
Darwin's full name: Darwin Raglan Caspian Ahab Poseidon Nicodemus Watterson III.
Yeah, my autistic brain couldn't handle that shit.
I believe that is the best pronunciation we could get.
Sounds about right. But yeah, he is the third, which is very funny. And of course, it says that big long name is very funny. And Darwin uses Mrs. Mom in The Kiss and Mr. Dad in The Prank. Assumably, based on context, it sounds like that may be the first instance of him using those.
That's cute.
And finally, Gumball and Darwin kiss twice in this season.
Do we have to keep a Gumball and Darwin kiss count?
I mean, it's very gay.
It's very gay, but it's
I do have some gay like things I'm keeping up with, but not that.
Yeah, let's
I could
not
if you
keep
want.
a count on that one. I don't think we need to. But that's pretty much all your comments. Thank you guys for leaving comments.
Thank you. We
always
appreciate
appreciated it.
We're probably going to have to start limiting them if we get this many insightful comments. We're probably going to have to shorten them a little bit. But I certainly appreciate our opportunity now to share it all without cutting anything.
Yeah, we didn't have much for the last episode, so it's nice to have comments again. But we're always posting every week. We post on the r/Gumball, and we ask on Twitter. So, but we don't get any responses on the Twitter. So
no, we don't.
Interact with us. We want to know what are you guys thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, please. We would love if you're listening to this episode right now and you have a Reddit account, you can go on r/Gumball. Every week you can see we post things, and by we I mean Theo. Theo's very good at keeping up with this stuff. And you can add your comments, give us your pronouns, give us a name if you want to go by a specific name, and just let us know what you think. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, don't be afraid to reach out. We said this early on, but we want this to be a very communal sort of project. But anyway, let's get to what we're here for, to actually talk about some episodes. And do you have anything before we jump into them?
It's the end.
It's the end. It is the end indeed. So, let's get this started.
So here we are in the end, and we first cut to like Gumball and Darwin sitting here on the couch together. They're laying under a blanket, and their like eyes are bloodshot red. It's implied they've been like up all night or something.
Yeah, been up all night snacking,
and they're just TV. Eating a bunch of stuff. I actually have it noted. These two have consumed 3 pizzas, though 2 slices seem to remain. Some percentage of like a big family bag of chips.
Yeah.
Some soda, though some was spilt onto the carpet, and some amount of like an orange fluid that I can't identify.
Like orange juice.
Looks like orange juice or apple juice or something.
Yeah.
It just looks like something
Probably
like
Darwin's.
that. Yep. There is 2 cups of it though, so I guess they're both drinking it. Only one of them seems to be drinking soda though.
Oh yeah, there's the soda can, and then there's like some donuts on the ground.
There are some donuts. I forgot to note those, but they're not eaten.
Man, that's the perk of being a kid.
Yeah.
I miss when we could do that.
Yep, and you know what? It's it does go to show how hardy their childlike constitution is, because despite doing all of this, they check to see if Gumball still has a pulse. And I thought this was very scary. It takes like a whole minute before his heart beats again. And even they look like they're not sure whether or not his heart's still beating.
That's a pretty good one.
It's scary.
It's scary. It's very funny, though.
It is super funny, though.
Yeah, so then they decide to kind of just watch TV. And we cut to Darwin in charge of the remote, and he's kind of flipping through the channels. And I noticed on top of the TV, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's that little VHS tape, the little wrestling tape.
I didn't note that.
And it comes back.
Oh, that's
it
great.
Does. It does.
There's also an air freshener on the wall.
There's an air freshener. Because I was like, who's watching a wrestling tape? Like, nobody in this family wants to watch wrestling. I mean,
That's
like,
gotta
Gumball
be
maybe.
Richard.
Well,
That's my
it'll
guess.
come back. It'll come back.
We'll see if I'm right. That's my prediction.
But yeah, so they start going through the TV commercials, and I like all the little commercials. Do you have any comments about any of those?
Well, yeah, I do. But first, now I'm wrestling with who could be wrestling, and I think it could. I want to make sure that I don't sound like I'm ignoring anyone. I'd like to say that it also sounds like it could be Nicole's family video or something.
Oh, don't worry.
Those are my two ideas. It's one of those two. Mm-hmm. That's my hope. But yeah, I do have some stuff about the TV gag. You said they're kind of skipping through, and it's basically gives them a message. Gumball, the world's about to end. Check the signs, basically. And I did note some of the commercial, or like some of the things they cut to get that, is they go to the weather. And it's currently 4:40 p.m., according to the Weather Channel.
That's cute.
Yeah. And they're near a place called Cowpoke Land.
Cowpoke Land? That's funny.
I don't know what that is, but they're also near a nature preserve, and something that was really hard to read, but it says big old something. It looks like it might be forest.
Oh.
So that's the things they're around. And also the part where it says will end is it's like a shopping channel type thing, and it is selling a W-C-LN2BP. That L might be a 1. I can't really read it. It's like illegible age. So it's like some time period, like blank age, figure maybe, or like figurette or something. It's hard to read. But figure, boy and girl with secret hidden object by the boy. Or secret object hidden by the boy.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know. From? And the price is $9.79 for that figure.
Damn, I mean, that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great for our tacky house.
Yeah, that would have been great.
But yeah, so then they hear this message and they're like, "Whoa, dude, that was weird."
They don't really think much of it.
Yeah, they don't think much of it. So then we cut to the school bus. And I like on the front of the school bus when it stops, you can just kind of see everyone there, just kind of frozen, and no one's like moving. It's just like standard poses.
I love that we get a little hint that Anais goes to the same school, because she is in Elmore Junior High School.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the bus is Elmore Junior High School. It says that on it, and she's in it. So that's a little hint to that.
Yeah, and Gumball and Darwin see Gary. Gary, we're sorry, Did you notice the baby on board sign?
Yeah, what is
that? Like, why is that on the bus?
I think they also have this idea that they lose later on, but like in season 1, it seems that the school bus is also like the community bus. Like it just kind of, it's like public transport during non-school hours, and like the little dwarf drives it.
Yeah.
They don't keep that. I think it's super cute, and I wish they would keep that. But that is like relevant, so maybe it's something to do with that.
Yeah, I just noticed it when I watched it. And I was like, huh? What?
Either that, or Elmore has a major like teenage birth problem.
But yeah, they see Gary Hedges. He's got the end is near. The end is near. It's very funny because then he's like, in our furniture department,
50% off. That's clever.
That's pretty good. I like that. But that's not his occupation.
That is not his occupation. No. I guess he's not a.
Or his voice.
He's not a mailman yet.
No, he's not the mailman yet. But I like that little gag. And I like the street view. It's a cute little.
I like to think little stuff like that. Like you might be able to see it as a plot hole or whatever. But I do think that this world that they live in ages, and so I'd like to think little things like that are just the story. Like he just he was the mailman for like a long time. I think that's pretty established canon. Because he's like, I've been your mailman, but no thanks.
Yes, and she's like, yeah, I'm your mailman since you were kids. Or whatever.
Yeah. So maybe this is just like
Side gig.
money was tight here, so he had to take this job for a little bit, and then he just stopped doing it. I like thinking about it in
cute.
terms of like that living, breathing world kind of thing.
Yeah. And, then we cut to the school.
Yeah, and I have something for the school right away. This is lunch. They don't, like, clearly establish that until we see Gumball and Darwin, like, eating. Because we see kids, like, walking around outside as if school's been let out or, like, it's just starting. And it's kind of weird. Like, I think they could frame that a bit better. But, because it's an establishing shot. Doesn't do a good job of portraying what time it is.
Yeah, no.
I did note that, you remember last time, we noted that, like, Leslie was really weirdly excited to be hanging out with Gumball and Darwin. Well, if it was the case that he didn't have friends yet, he does now because he's hanging out with Penny, Carmen, and Masami.
Yeah.
So I guess this is his friend group now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty consistent, I think.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of cute because it implies that maybe they're established friends now and they weren't before.
That's cute. That's cute. But then we go to a great little part of the episode here. The boys are eating lunch, and they're like eating sandwiches, and I like their little. Darwin's got like a little lunch box.
Oh yeah, it's got a rainbow on it.
Gumball's just got like a paper bag, which is very cute. Things
cute.
they didn't have to add in, but it's just little details that are very cute.
I didn't even notice that, but
I
it
didn't
is
notice
cute.
it until
Darwin's
just
got a
now
little
either.
rainbow. He insisted on the rainbow one. But I did note, speaking of them eating lunch, I noted that Darwin is drinking something called Blue Orange. I don't know what that is, but Gumball's just drinking something soda. I guess so, but what is that in universe?
Yeah, blue, orange. But then the boys are eating, and there's this like big flock of birds that come by, and we see Anton eating just on the stairs, and he's eating a sandwich.
He's eating alone.
He's eating a sandwich, which is like, is he okay with eating bread?
Yeah, it's like the
different
Idaho
kind of bread,
episode.
right?
It's
Yeah.
a different kind of
different
food.
kind of bread.
They're not the same like species, I guess.
But it's all these birds flocking around him, and it's great. He's like, "Do you guys want my sandwich?" It's great.
He gives them the sandwich.
The bird does eat it.
One bird eats it, and they're not satisfied.
And they just devour him. It's very funny.
I do love the gore that this show gets away with by virtue of the fact that their characters are like inanimate objects.
It's very
because like
funny.
there's no other kids show where they can make the joke of a character literally just getting eaten alive by a swarm of animals.
Yeah.
You know, that's some real horror movie shit. And Gumball does that a lot. I think Gumball
Gumball definitely leans into horror a lot.
Gumball can definitely be considered a horror, like a children's horror, I think.
Definitely at times.
Yeah, at least certain episodes. And they always go back to that sort of stuff, and I really appreciate that because it's an entirely new, like, comedy sphere that cartoons don't usually get to play around. And I very much appreciate it.
It's jokes like these that pepper a lot of the later episodes where it becomes
it just gets really dark because they keep just going harder and harder on the commentary or, like, the realness of their jokes, and it's great. I love it.
Absolutely. But yeah, poor Anton, he gets eaten, and then Gumball and Darwin are like, what's going on?
The birds are acting weird. They're like, well, hang on. All these things that have been happening to us are weird. Something's definitely going on. And Bobbert walks up.
Bobbert walks into the scene.
And asks if they want to go to the eclipse showing. Because he's a part of the Science Club.
I love that.
Which is so funny. Why is he a part of a club?
Maybe that's our intro, an Elmore Science, or like a school science club.
I guess you guys will know whether or not we did that. But he's a part of that. And then I wondered, who decided that he should be the kid in charge of, like, asking people if they want to join? He's terrible at that.
Well, it works on them.
It does work on them, but, like, I think on most people, he would not be, like, the best option they have. But I guess it's probably him or Colin and Felix.
Yeah, I do love Bobbert. It's always nice when he appears.
I do love him. But also, you could pause here, because this is a bit complicated. So this is where you start to get into this episode not having, like, super great time continuity, which you think it would have, given that time is such an important element of this episode. You think they'd care a little bit more about it, but they didn't. So the solar eclipse is in 24 hours. This is during lunch. This is assumably on a Friday, because the actual solar eclipse, this same time, 24 hours later, in the day, they're at home.
Yeah.
So assumably they're not at school. It's probably that this is
Unless
a Friday.
they just skipped it.
Unless they skipped, which is possible, but like then why is the rest of the family there?
Yeah.
Nicole would be at work.
They were stuck in the porta potty.
Well, this is before that when there's like sitting
gotcha.
at dinner. Or I think that's two separate scenes. But
We'll get to it.
yeah, but like it sounds like this is a weekend. So that implies that they ate all that shit on at 4:40 p.m. on a Thursday.
Yeah, me IRL.
Yeah, which is weird because it implies that they've been up all night and they've been hanging out, which seems like more like a weekend thing. That's not necessarily inconsistent or like plot holy, but it doesn't lean into your expectations of what Thursday, Friday, Saturday would be for kids, assuming that these are the days. And that, I think, is a failing of the framing, again, in an episode that's supposed to care so much about the time.
Yeah, and I'm sure that stems from the fact that a lot of these were storyboarded and not scripted.
That's
Once
very
you
much
start
a
scripting
storyboard
these
thing.
episodes, then these issues don't happen.
But I think, that's a great critique of why the show needed to be storyboard driven or not
Script driven.
Script driven, not storyboard driven.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, Bobbert just kind of starts talking about the Mayan calendar.
Yeah. Did you note that? Because I noted that is a very, very 2011 thing to do.
I thought it was very cute because, this was in 20... So
yeah, because 2012 is supposed to be the end of the world. So 2011 was when everyone was talking about it because it was like, we only have a year left.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, if this was a couple years earlier or a couple years later, there would have been no reference to the Mayans. Because that is purely this specific time period. And I really treasure that because it feels like a time capsule.
It really does.
And that's going to make this a little bit nostalgic, I think, in maybe like a decade.
Yeah. What did you think about that in 2011?
I was, I had at that point started going down my little atheist pipeline. So I was already an atheist and a non-believer and like super science-minded and in the ways that like annoying online atheists are. And so, I was a bit of a shithead with it and I was instantly like, that supernatural belief is stupid. And so I did think about it in that sense. But also, people talked about it enough and I was genuinely scared come December.
Do you remember our party? We had an end of the world party.
Oh yeah, we did,
you and
didn't
Jesse,
we?
I think.
That's
yeah.
cute. I was genuinely a little worried. I thought something might actually happen.
I was absolutely too, and that serves to show you how manipulative the media is, especially for
just
children.
goes to show you how propaganda works.
Yeah, and because I remember I was like, I was like rationally I knew, but I was also like I don't know how old we were at the time, but I was a child with undiagnosed anxiety, so
Yep.
That
Same
didn't
thing
help.
here. You know what? I would like to say that before we get back to the episode here. This right here, this type of conversation that just kind of sprung out of the episode naturally, precisely the reason why I wanted to do a podcast. So, as we get to more and more episodes that we really like, guys, I think you should probably expect more of that.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm here for.
I think we're also just getting more used to it.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
It's getting a lot more comfortable with this because we've been doing it for a little while now.
Yeah. But anyway, continue on.
That basically convinces these two that it is the end of the world, so they go running scared and they run away. And Bobbert's like, I will take that as a yes, which I thought meant... So does that mean during the solar eclipse, whatever the science team was, they were expecting these two
Yeah,
there? They had
thought they were
reserved
gonna
seating.
come.
They had empty reserved seating right next to Bobbert.
I bet they were the only two that said yes too, so Bobbert was
Oh
probably
my
so
god,
excited.
probably it was probably Bobbert, Colin, and Felix and no one else. Maybe another character who's like has a hard time saying no. I don't know who that'd be. Maybe like Molly.
Yeah. That's great. But yeah, then Gumball just has like a full-blown like panic attack. Like just like no joke.
Oh,
He
yeah.
just has like a full-blown panic attack in the hallway.
And
he's like screaming and crying.
and screaming. Yeah, it's like he's genuinely wrestling with
And
his
this
mortality.
happens to him a lot throughout the show. He genuinely suffers from panic attacks.
Honestly,
Like
yeah.
several times throughout the show, he does this.
Makes you wonder, does Ben have any sort of thing like that? Does
Yeah.
he have anxiety? Because, again, Gumball is supposed to be a caricature of him, and I don't know how deep that runs, but
Yeah.
that may be a part of that.
Yeah, because this happens to him many times, and it goes beyond him overreacting because it's a kid's cartoon. It's like a genuine reaction.
It does feel very real. Like he does kind of cry and break down.
And I think it's the voice actors.
I didn't say this until later on into the dress, but I should have noted it here. This is another example of these kids being really, really talented voice actors. Because I genuinely feel it.
Yeah.
When these characters start getting like panicked or scared, that feels real, and that's really hard to pull off in like a kid's show. It's very hard to make me feel like the characters are genuinely scared.
Yeah.
And that's an important part of setting up tension.
So kudos
to the voice actors.
But yeah, and then Darwin like cheers him up. He actually kind of helps him calms him down. He's like, "Oh yeah, but isn't 24 hours like a lot of time?" And then Gumball's immediately like, "Yeah."
He goes from, I have a note about this. I love anytime Gumball is like panicked or crying or like in a state of extreme duress, and then instantly
just
gets calmed. It's so funny
every time.
It is so funny. It's so charming.
He's just like, "Oh yeah, you're right."
Oh yeah. It's such a cute little thing, and it's very Gumball. No one else does that in this show.
It's just him.
That is very much his
cute.
like own unique trait.
But so Darwin's like, "Isn't 24 hours a lot of time?" And then Gumball's like, "Okay, well, like, what do we do with 24 hours?"
He's like, "Well, Darwin, I never asked you this, but what do you want to do with your life?"
And Darwin Watterson.
I objected to that because I was like, I feel like if I was in their situation and I had like a brother that I was this close of a friend with and we shared a bedroom, we would have spent every night together laying in bed unable to sleep talking. And I'm sure that would have come up by the age of 12 and 10. So I objected to that a little bit. But it is also in character for Gumball, I think, to just not ask that.
So continue on.
So we have these boys talking about like what they're going to do with the rest of their life, and Gumball asks Darwin what he wants to do with his life. He's like, "I've never asked you that." And Darwin gives this very sweet answer.
Yeah, it's
so cute.
It's very much like his thesis statement as a character.
Yeah, that really is his like thesis. Even when
can you quote it? Do you have it written down?
I do not.
I figured you had the whole thing like written down.
I should have, but I didn't think about it like that. I do have a couple of other things that are like written down exactly.
But it's basically just like he wants to help people who are marginalized.
Yeah, he just wants to be like he just wants to be a volunteer for a living. He wants to do like humanitarian works. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
But then Gumball again is a bit of an asshole here because no, actually he's genuinely like straight up an asshole here. This is him acting genuinely badly. This is not him just like kind of being a little goofball or whatever. This is a genuine flaw.
This is Gumball
of his. Yeah. Because he's just so
dismissive.
Honest, and he's dismissive in the way where he kind of feels like he thinks he's just being honest. But in, that kind of alpha male kind of asshole way.
Yeah.
Or teenage way. Which I guess is just telling that he's becoming a teenager. But, he's just like, "Oh, you were kind of boring, so I figured we should do what I want to do instead."
And Darwin, of course, goes along with it.
Yeah, because Darwin's just too good a boy. He's too passive.
Do you think when they're older, Darwin's going to be like, "Dude, you were kind of a dick to me when we were kids"?
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask if when they were earlier, Darwin was a sub.
Oh.
And I was going to say yes.
But, so we cut to the classroom, which is always nice when we get to see the classroom. Gumball's just kind of moaning and groaning about the end of the world and stuff. And
and here's a little thing I have for this. We get like that establishing shot of the classroom and everyone's sitting down, and it's very cute. First off, Tina is sitting at a desk, but it's just under her
just
like
under
legs.
Her,
She's basically just like standing over it, which is interesting because in the dress she doesn't even have a desk.
Yeah,
which is weird and not. I kind of pointed that out now because I don't know if I'll remember to point that out when we get to the other episode. But I love that Anton, Banana Joe, and Idaho prop themselves up using books so that they can see over the desk, which is so funny. Yeah. I love that they thought to like add that detail. And also, Tobias is my favorite sitter. He looks so goofy.
He does look very goofy. You think in a world like this, they would have seats that would accommodate
more accommodating,
yeah. There wouldn't be like a normalized type
that right there is kind of where I feel like this is the imagination world, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of the vibe you get from this show. Is that it's all just like a real world except for the characters, and that's because they're caricatures of who's actually there. Look at that Tobias.
Yeah, he's great.
He's got like duck lips and his limbs are all curled in. I don't know why he's in this pose.
Yeah, he doesn't look
it
like
does
something
not
he'd
feel
sit
like
with.
Tobias,
No.
but it is very funnily drawn.
And how does Tina take a test?
Yeah, her arms are way too short. Do you think she had to talk to Miss Simeon about that? Maybe that's why she's been held up. Maybe that's why she's been held back for 2 grades.
Yeah. But Gumball's just like, yeah, I'm gonna die before I get to do all the things I want to do. Nothing really matters. Blah 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 blah.
He's like, we shouldn't be here listening to this primate teaching us mathematics. And Penny's like, Gumball, this is biology.
Yeah.
No, it's just funny. That's a good line. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that she gets included just for that.
And then Miss Simeon is kind of like, I've got a surprise test for you.
I've got a surprise, children. A surprise test.
Yeah. And Gumball, in a very ballsy move, he just straight up walks up and he rips the test up. And he's
like, you know what I think of your test, Miss Simeon?
Damn.
And he just kind of protests her, and then he throws a glass of
throws
water
water
at her
on it.
face, which is the perfect act of unlawful disobedience.
Yeah. And I love everyone's like, whoa. And of
Whoa.
course, he like jumps up on her desk and
He's like, we're all gonna die, let's make this a party!
Uh,
And this doesn't really go anywhere because everyone's taking the test, except for Alan. He's cringing in the back.
I love that. Alan's cringe is
And like
so
Molly
funny.
is looking into the corner, she awkwardly, she's not actually taking the test. So everyone's either taking the test or just kind of
Except
awkwardly
Darwin.
not lining up. Not like giving them eye contact, except for Darwin. Darwin's super into this because, of course, he is.
I love Alan's cringe. That's a great Steam picture.
Yeah, it is.
That's
It's
a great-
so funny.
It's so funny. But yeah, and of course that gets them thrown in detention.
Also, before we leave this scene, Miss Simeon, behind her desk, I have noted, there's a poster for the auditions for the school musical.
That's
So,
cute.
what do you think they're doing a musical of?
Oh,
Do you think they're
gosh.
doing Seussical?
They very well could be. No, they're probably doing like fucking.
Romeo and Juliet?
No,
Cinderella?
less music. Yeah, they're probably doing like Cinderella. They're probably doing some old shit that we would have done in
Yeah,
middle
some
school.
boring shit.
Some like Oklahoma or something. Some
But
small town shit.
Also, there's a little bit of what I would consider confirmation that Cowpoke Land and the nature preserve and all that are nearby because the same map that is on the weather thing is behind Miss Simeon's wall, like
Oh, really?
desk on her wall.
Ah.
So that must be a map of the
didn't know
area.
that.
So
That's cool.
those are actually near Elmore.
That's cute. But yeah, the boys only end up getting 3 hours of detention for that, which I thought would be a light punishment for Miss Simeon. I thought the fact that he threw water in her face, I thought she was gonna be like, "You're suspended, both of you."
Well, I was going to say I don't think she has the power to do that, but then she does have the power to sex up the man who can.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess she probably would get
I
suspended.
just thought that was such a light sentence. I'm like, I get it. You know, that's how long it needed to be for the writing, but
But also, it didn't, because they don't get out 3 hours later. That's part of the problem with the
well, what
clock.
is the time difference? Between
Because it's
this?
24 hours.
Uh-huh.
And then they do that and get sent back 3 hours. But then it's hour 23 on the clock. Or like hour 22. Something like that. So it's not been 3 hours. And it's really stupid because it's like, well, if you set it up that it's going to happen in 24 hours, why didn't you like make the clock accurate?
Yeah.
It does kind of ruin the episode.
Yeah.
Because the clock means nothing if it doesn't actually show you a real time. You know, it's
That's the
basically
storyboarding.
nothing. Yeah.
It's the storyboarding.
That's the failure of the animation team or whoever mucked it up.
Absolutely. Also, I thought it was interesting. I didn't mention this. I jumped over it in my notes. But Gumball and Darwin sit at the front of the class. I find that very. I'm like, she put them there, right? They didn't choose to sit there.
Yeah, that's something like we would have had in physics class.
Yeah, that like she
Yeah.
definitely put. They definitely
Because
did not choose to sit in
also,
the front.
this is another thing where it might be considered like a continuity error or plot hole or whatever. But the characters in the background are never sitting in the same spots.
No.
Maybe that's like confirmed or whatever. Maybe like they sit consistently in later seasons, but not now. And so, to me, that I interpret that as being Miss Simeon's class just has free seating.
You know,
You
know
sit
what?
wherever you want.
We did that in college, and then after that, I was like, why the hell did we ever even have assigned
Assigned
seating?
seats.
What on earth is the point of
It
that?
is purely just for like conformity and efficiency.
Yeah, honestly,
I
what
watched
on
this
earth was the
amazing
point?
video. I'm just gonna like recommend a video to you guys right here. It's by Zoe B,
Uh-huh.
and it was Defense of Inefficiency, I think it was called, like in the defense of inefficiency or whatever. And he was just talking about how our like whole systems, societies, everything is designed around this idea of efficiency, and that seems intuitive and makes sense until you realize that this is only like 100-year-old concept. We've not always been so fixated on efficiency, and so because we know that's not just like a default thing for humanity, we should question that. We should wonder why that is. Why do we care about that? And is it good? And if you look at like the school system, a lot of the things they do are designed for efficiency, and that ruins the experience for the kids that are actually in it. Like their goal, the thing they're trying to be efficient about, is getting like good grades, right? So it's not even about learning; it's about like making sure the test scores are up, essentially. Right. And when you look at how you achieve that, it is not conducive to an actual learning environment, nor like a good environment for kids in general. Yeah. And that's one of them, would be like, it is more efficient to put these two in the front of the class because they cause problems, or it is more efficient to have assigned seating because then kids are less likely to get distracted, or something. When you realize, like, no, in actuality, you can't really determine efficiency for something like a school because it's different for every person. Yeah. And so if you did allow assigned seating or something, we would have sat together and had a better time in physics, though. We would have been admittedly...
We did sit together.
We did. But, like, we would have admittedly done a better job if we weren't right next to each other. Yeah. But in other classes, if it was something we were genuinely interested in and felt like we could learn, it would have helped us develop our ability to learn this shit. Yeah. Because we would have turned to each other and kind of reviewed information or asked questions to each other and just kind of discussed it, which is really, I think, really important to the learning process.
Yeah, I always hated when we had to be like, when teacher would be like, hey, turn to the person behind you and compare your notes or whatever, because it was always somebody I didn't know, and it was always like awkward, but I would like,
and here's another thing, was the doodling in class. That's another thing that's in the video. It's like, it helps you concentrate when you have like ADHD. It genuinely makes it easier to pay attention, or possibly even possible at all to pay attention to the teacher. And yet you're not allowed to do that because the teachers are just like, nope, it is more efficient to make you stare at me, eye contact, even though it is not conducive to actually teaching kids anything.
I can speak to that from experience. I got trouble all the time in school for doodling. All the time my teacher was like, you need to stop doodling. He needs to stop doodling. He needs to stop doodling. And I was so annoying because I was like, but if I can't just sit here and look at the teacher for
it's like my brain operates more, efficiently or more better when I'm doing multiple things. Like when I'm just sitting still, I cannot keep track of shit. And that's true even to this day. I listen to YouTube videos like this one we're talking about right now while I'm at work doing my job. And you know what? I think I did a pretty good job of explaining it, so obviously I was paying attention.
Yeah, I do that too now.
But I was working the whole time.
I do the same thing. I put on lo-fi while I'm working. Yeah. And it helps. It helps me focus.
It helps tremendously.
And I just hated in school how we weren't allowed to do that. And this is completely off topic.
That's I think that's a good stopping point for that.
Yeah,
getting back to the episode.
Conversation, though.
I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, sorry. I just completely... But, this is what the school does. It elicits these conversations.
Yeah,
and it's so very
I think that's a part of what I want from this stuff. Like, that's why we're asking for the analytical sources for Gumball, because we want to have these discussions.
Yeah,
I think now that I know there's a history of it, I want to be like listed as one of those resources where you get that analytical discussion. And I want to be that. So I hope that listeners see value in that.
Yeah. So they get out of detention, and Gumball's like, we have some amount of time left. I still need to do all the things I wanted to do.
He's panicking, and so he's like, he has a wedding with Penny, and here's another thing to really break down a lot.
I love this part.
First off, Banana Joe officiates
it. Yeah, he officiates it.
Why did Gumball choose Banana Joe to officiate it? You know what? He probably did it because he's the only guy who would have actually gone along with it.
Yeah, I think that, because I had to say, I was like, why did Banana Joe do this?
But also, Banana Joe says, by the power of banana, which is obviously like a reference to by the power invested in me. So I think it sounds like, by the power invested in me by Banana. So is Banana his god?
Does he worship bananas?
That's so funny. Probably. That's the banana religion.
That's the banana religion.
But I also thought it was funny that of all the characters that are kind of setting up this wedding scene, Gumball invited only a few of them, and they're kind of a little strange here.
Yeah.
They're Masami, Molly, and Carmen.
Carmen, yeah, what a trio. Like, why did he invite
Again,
these
those
three
might just be the only ones that were willing to show up when he asked. Those may not have been the only ones he asked. Though I feel like Tina would have wanted to be here, too.
And, unfortunately, they don't really say anything.
No, they don't, but it is a very cute scene.
This is a very cute scene.
It's he's trying to get married, and Penny just doesn't understand this. She just got roped in this like everyone else did.
But this was the moment. I think this is one of those moments when we were watching the show for the first time where
this is definitely a moment that made me realize, oh, this show is written well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it is not just this goofy little scene where the girl is just like a prize to be won. Mm-hmm. Penny actually has agency here.
Yeah.
And she denies Gumball. And not only does she deny him, but it's not written off as some like, hysterical woman or some bullshit like that. It's not a trope. She's the reasonable one.
Yeah.
And
she's the one, she's like, yeah, well... Wait, we're 12 years old.
We're 12 years old. We've never been on a date.
Yeah,
and
this isn't even a ring.
It's a bagel.
It's a bagel, yeah.
Where did he get a bagel?
I
guess it got from the cafeteria or the teacher's lounge.
But yeah, then she's like, but it doesn't stop you from asking me again in like 20 years.
In 20 years.
And that's fucking cute.
She wants to get married at 32.
Yeah. Yeah, why 32? I guess she's
just
like,
her being responsible.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to get married too young, which is great. That's a role model we need to be giving kids.
Yeah,
is a character who doesn't want to fucking get married until they're old enough.
Yeah, Penny's great.
Penny's I love Penny. She is amazing. She's
so underrated. I think she's not underrated, but she is.
She's honestly I think she is just a stunning example of how good the girlfriend character can be if you just let them be a character instead of a fucking trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. She's not like, oh, Gumball. She's not repulsed by it. She's just like, this
and that's great too. Is that this isn't a one-sided relationship, because that's something we really need to kill out of our media too. Is this idea that, well, if you just annoy a girl long enough, she'll fall in love with you, and that's how you really get a girl, son. We need to stop teaching our boys that.
How many shows have we watched before, during, and after Gumball where that happened? Sheldon?
My Life is a Teenage Robot's a great example of that.
Prime example.
We watched that a little bit before Gumball because we had a tradition of just kind of like catching up with old shows when we ate.
Old and new shows, we were mixing them together.
We were just trying to, consume more media, basically. And we rewatched that, and we didn't realize until rewatching it that Sheldon and Jenny's relationship is really, really, really gross.
Really gross, really nasty.
Yeah, he is just like an incel. He's a creep. He's a loser. And yet he gets the girl at the end.
He never gets punished for his bad behavior, and if it does, it's only temporary.
It's only just like a
like
joke.
it'll an episode end with Jenny chasing him down the street
and
with a hammer.
And then we get back to the status
And it's
quo.
like, oh, look, how cute. Yeah, and then we immediately go back to, she needs
and so it's like, even when it was a show that was what would be considered at the time feminist and had like a main character that was a woman, it was still at that time so very misogynist, and it had that bullshit in there that I hated.
Yeah, that was not a fun part to rewatch.
We don't get that in this show.
No.
When we get romances, it's equal,
it's always
and it's everyone. Alan and Carmen, and then we have, of course, Penny and Gumball.
Yeah,
Darwin and Carrie.
Yeah,
and then we get like Nicole and Richard. And the
like,
only
they all have
time
their differences, but they still love each other.
But and it's always mutual. The girls are always just as like interested as the boy, and that's super important.
Yeah.
And when we do see relationships that don't have that, they're very clearly like bad examples.
That's the one thing. That's one of the things that I think first really made the show stand out, because it was just like, wow, you don't see that. I was honestly shocked with how like happy she was to be with Gumball, because like we talked about, we didn't see that growing up. We did not see shows
that.
like that.
And when you look at her and you look at Gumball and you look at like the character concepts that like what we know of them so far, without looking at like media later on in the show, when you look at just that, it definitely looks like it's just going to be the same loser to lover story where they just annoy the girl into winning her. And like I said, she's like a trophy. So you kind of almost expect that just because you're so used to it. And then you're like, oh, here's where the show is going to be kind of ugly and gross and I'm not going to like it. But then Penny pulls that and you're just like, oh, this is written better than just everything else.
Yeah.
And it's just so refreshing.
It's a very minor part of the show, but it's so important. I don't think it's talked about enough.
It's just emblematic of everything because it is a small part of the show, but everything kind of has that vibe of, oh my god, I can't believe this person is finally being given a voice in media.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, it's a great little wedding scene. It's very cute.
It is very cute.
And Gumball's like, no, and Darwin's like, well, we don't have enough time to live. And then he's like, blah, 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 blah. And he immediately turns to Carmen. He's like, want to marry me?
And that's another Gumball being very bad. That kind of goes against what we just said, but it is meant to just be a joke.
I read it more of like he's probably like on his block for something like really serious. I think he wants to be like, I want to get married before I die, and he's going to do that.
To be fair, I read that very much of Gumball just being a kid and having unrealistic expectations of what you can achieve in 24 hours because he has so many dreams to aspire to. You know, I read it that way, but still. It then puts Carmen in the role of trophy that I just described. I didn't like other characters being in. And so I do have to recognize that, like, that is, you know, kind of crappy. Because I don't think... It wouldn't have been a problem, I think, if, like, we got a chance to see Carmen just get, like, mad at him. But I don't think we do that. I think we cut it away.
Is viewing her as a trophy, as something to get? I was looking at it more of he wanted a partnership.
It's not a matter of how the character is perceiving the other character. It's a matter of how the writers are handling this character. Because at this point, that would be the only interaction we've ever had with Carmen up to this point would be her as an object for the main character to win. As, like, you know, the object instead of the subject.
Gotcha.
And so it's a little bit more metatextual than how the characters are interacting to each other.
Okay. Yeah, anything else about that scene?
No, we should probably get off it because we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, so we cut to the Watterson household. What's the time on our clock? I just saw it. 13 hours, 2 minutes, 57 seconds, and 57,
So this is another thing where I get into it later on, so I'll wait for that, but this is another part, I think, where the clock kind of doesn't make much sense based on what they're doing now and what they'll end up doing by the end of it.
Yeah, and we cut to the Wattersons. They're having dinner.
This is assumably after school.
That looks like dinner.
This is what, like, it was just 22 hours, and now it's 13. So what? That's been like 10 hours. Yeah, so would that be dinner? Because that would have been like
10
hours after school.
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. Because they were just at lunch, right? Or they just got through lunch.
It's another one of those things where I don't think the time limit really makes sense.
Yeah, that we didn't really need the clock.
Well, because another thing. It was like probably around noon when they got the 24-hour clock started. Yeah. So this is also 13 hours from Doomsday. So this is 13 hours from noon. Wouldn't that make it like
1 a.m.?
1 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense.
Or 11 p.m. Something like that. I don't know math.
I don't know.
But, it's time that doesn't make sense.
Because it looks like it's late outside. Because there's light coming in from the kitchen.
And this definitely looks like... This is not what their breakfast table looks like. Because they don't sit down to eat. Yeah. And this is, like, definitely, like, meat.
Yeah, no,
meat
we
cutlets.
have meat on it. Yeah, it's like meat and lima beans and whatever.
Yeah, so this is definitely, like, dinner.
Yeah, and then Gumball has a perm for some reason.
Yeah, they do just, like... He has a perm and they don't say anything about it to start the scene. Like, there's just a moment of silence where the viewer just gets a chance to see it and be like, what the hell are you doing? Before they address it. And it's Anais who addresses it, which I thought was interesting. Because don't you think Nicole would have been like, what did you do? You didn't talk through this with me that you were going to get your hair changed.
I could see that. I could also see her being like,
or like at least some sort of reaction.
Yeah.
Like coming home and she would have just been like, "Is that what I think it is?"
Yeah. I would. Yeah.
I could see either one.
But I don't know. But yeah,
it's a little weird that she doesn't really address it. But it is kind of sweet because she doesn't immediately tell me, like, she doesn't immediately go like, oh, my son is an idiot, I'm going to berate him for this decision.
Yeah.
She does accept it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to say, it's just like the Mr. Robinson thing earlier, where, he uses Gumball's preferred name, and Nicole doesn't judge her son for getting the perm.
Yeah, or for for asking for the pony, which is one of the notes I had, because he's like, Mom, I love his kid logic here, where he's like, how old am I going to be? Oh, okay, I'll have like 90 more birthday presents. Mom, can I get all those presents like 1 year? That's such a kid like way of thinking that I thought was really
that's
cute.
Very cute. And also, he does that because he asked her how old is she expecting him to live, and that's where we get the Munchin of Daniel, because she's like, well, your grandfather lived to be 102, which one implies that he's dead now, and two that like, oh my God, when did he have Nicole?
Yeah.
When he was 70?
Yeah. I guess
70 or 60. What age are they?
No, that wouldn't make sense either. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's one of those season 1 things.
Or if it's like, oh, we were counting in cat years.
Yeah, or she's talking about her grandfather or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I know. It's weird, but
yeah, he asked for a pony, which I thought was really
very
cute because we never see that. We never see a boy ask for a pony.
No, he's the boy who asks for the pony, even though that's usually the default like girl wish.
Yeah.
But also, I had noted that he should have been super excited when his dad brought home a horse in season 6, episode 24 of the ad.
He didn't want the pony anymore. He
got over it. He got over
real quick.
He was a horse girl.
He was a horse girl for a little bit. But the ad, and Nicole is like, I love her. She doesn't like, no, you can't have a pony. She's just like, if you want a pony, I'll get you a pony when your dad lays golden eggs.
Yeah, and Richard genuinely believes that there might be a chance that he can do that.
Is he shitting himself at the table? Because he's like,
well, we don't. I did note this, that like, this is not a fart joke, even though it seems like it's going to be written like one. And so that to me implies that no, he's not shitting himself. He's just grunting. He's just like straining his colon. Oh. But he is holding in that poo.
One thing I wanted to add to back up just a little brief moment when we were talking about the pony. One little thing that I thought was kind of awkward was because Gumball's like, I want a pony, and Anais is like, do you want a tutu with that? And I was like, a rare, like, kind of a little weird.
That's a little weird. I mean, I think they're just trying to go for the Anais is kind of mocking Gumball thing, but they didn't really think about whether or not that was the way Anais would mock him. Yeah. Which I think that's just the storyboard versus the writers written. Yeah. I think that's the difference between now and when we have like 10 writers, because I've been wanting to kind of put this out there as my idea, but the way that the multiple writers feels like later seasons when we have so many writers, it feels like every character has their own advocate in the writers like room, and that's really important. That's where a lot of the good writing comes from, because every character, like every writer, feels like they're an expert in some characters, and so they'll be like, hang on, this is not how that character would react, this is how it would be. And it just kind of feels like everyone gets a really in-depth like person that really understands their motivations.
Yeah, we definitely don't have that yet.
We don't have that quite yet. I think that's where we're getting this tutu comment.
Part of the notes I have for what we're going to be talking about in a moment. But yeah, Gumball and Darwin kind of explain the story of the eclipse and stuff.
Yeah, and I have a big comment about this.
Yeah.
I have a big long one. So they do explain it, and of course, because the TV was the first thing, that's what Gumball starts with. And he says, this morning, the TV spoke to me. You remember what I said about the news?
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
It was 4:40 p.m.
Yeah. So that's not.
So again, it's another not incontinence, but incongruence with the continuity. That doesn't make any sense. But it would have made sense if that was like an all-night banger and it said 4:40 a.m.
Yeah.
That would have made sense.
Yeah.
But
it's like a little thing.
Still, just like all the timing for this stuff just doesn't work. Doesn't seem to work at all.
Yeah. But, is that any more to that?
That's it, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, the boys, they explain the story, and, of course, Nicole and Anais immediately laugh and walk away. Yeah.
Yeah. They walk away. They're laughing. I do love that both of them get to be above this. But, of course, Richard is gullible, and so he believes in it. And it's very funny because the two boys are like, oh, no one believes us. And then immediately Richard jumps in, slams the table, and you can hear like the dishes and stuff all rustle. And he's like, have you two tried to do anything about this? And Darwin's like, well, Gumball got married and all this stuff and got a perm. But he's like, I just mostly had ice cream and rode a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Where's the nearest roller coaster?
The Elmore theme park.
Is it in Cowpoke Land?
Maybe that is
Maybe
Cowpoke
that's
Land.
why it's Cowpoke Land, and that's a theme park.
I don't know if they ever mention Cowpoke Land.
I don't think they do, but that's my headcanon.
That's the headcanon.
Well, anytime we see the amusement park, which I think is literally just this episode, I think it's called Cowpoke Land.
I love that. But this moment really struck me as very much like a Simpson dynamic, which again I think the show really, really is inspired from, because this very much reminded me of like a very much a Richard is very Homer Simpson.
Richard is the same archetype as Homer, Peter Griffin, that fat, dumb dad. But he is far more derivative than that stereotype usually is. Yeah. So you definitely feel the DNA in it, but he feels like he definitely builds on it instead of just does what came before it, but worse.
Yeah, and that's one of kind of my big note for when Richard enters the scene is that it just feels like the show doesn't really know who he is quite yet. Like they have an idea that he's like the dumb, gullible, goofy
They know
dad.
about his like his flaws, but they don't know about his like upsides yet.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know his strengths yet.
Yeah, and I just it's very evident through this episode, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, of course, Richard's like, "Whoa, what do you do in an emergency? You panic buy!"
I have it quoted here. The first thing to do in an emergency is panic and buy everything. Which is very funny, given that was almost prophetic. Yeah, that was 10 years before.
Richard was
8 years
was
before.
panic buying during COVID.
Yeah, so Richard bought all the toilet paper.
Richard bought all the toilet paper from the Cheap Mart.
From Cheap Mart.
That's great. But then it cuts to them outside. Assumably, this is probably like, what, 5, 6 o'clock at this point?
Something like that. Or, it could be any freaking time with how bad the continuity is on the
this is
timing
really
of this
weird.
episode.
But it cuts to them in the car, and Richard's... I don't really care for this.
I thought it was funny.
Sequence. It's cute, but it's just they do this a lot. They do this like 2 more times where Richard is. It's like this long extended joke of Richard just being an idiot.
And and
it's
they also
kind of
do this
tiring.
thing of him like not knowing how to drive pretty often too.
Yeah,
and
this is a cute little character trait. Though.
It is a cute character trait, but this is definitely one of the worst uses of it.
Yeah.
But it's still funny in my mind. Basically, he has the handbrake on so they're not going anywhere, despite the fact that his pedal is to the metal. And Gumball keeps correcting him. He's like, oh, we have the handbrake. So he's like, you're right. Let's go with that. And he's in reverse and slams into the car behind him, which is
Mr. Robinson's
car.
Yeah.
It is.
He's going to be like, Margaret, they hit my car again.
Margaret, I got to get their insurance again.
They don't have insurance.
No.
He's going to go over there and be like, hey, Mrs. Watterson, I just need your insurance information.
Does he call her Mrs. Robinson or does he call her Nicole?
I don't know. I feel
like he's a Nicole. He looks down on them because they're a whole generation younger than him, or like 2 generations.
Yeah,
so he's like,
true.
hey, Nicole, I need your insurance information.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, he hits Mr. Robinson's car.
And then Gumball's like, oh, you're in reverse, Dad. And he's like, yeah, of course. So he slams it into drive and hits the car in front of him, which assumably would be Gary's car.
Yeah, Gary's car.
So then he just screams like, let's walk. So they run to the market, and that's when he says the whole panic buying thing.
Yeah. And I just thought it was interesting that their grocery store had a security guard.
Yeah, as a security guard. They're going to a little bit more of a bougie
It's
place.
like Giant Eagle.
Yeah. Hey, but then they power walk.
They power walk. I love the
or
little power
race walk,
cycle.
which I thought was
The
very
race walk,
funny.
yeah,
that was clever.
And they immediately grab like all the junk food.
Yeah, they are definitely not in the Whole Foods aisle.
Yeah, they just got a bunch of junk food. And now apparently there's only
because
4
of course
hours
they
left.
would. The only time these characters ever eat a vegetable is because Nicole forces them all to.
Yeah. But now we're at 4 hours and they go to the checkout line. And I love the little sequence here where you see all the characters. I don't know. Did you go through here and look at all these characters? Because I did.
No, the trivia page of the wiki talks about it. I didn't care to do that. That was not where my interests lie. I know there's a couple of characters that are repeated.
Yeah, Louis in here twice.
Yeah.
Louis in here twice. He's the only one that I noticed, but I'm sure there were
I think
more.
there was like
But
more
yeah,
than one.
Louis on this line twice. He's at like the beginning and there he is again.
This is where like Charlie, Karen, Lenny
Yeah.
come in. They're
Not
in this
actual
line.
introductions.
No, we don't. They're not like a speaking role or anything yet.
I have a headcanon here.
Please.
This is the first interaction we see with Larry and whatever pink girl's name is. What's her
Karen.
name? Is that Karen?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Karen.
But yeah, this is their first interaction. So in my head, I think this is the moment where he was like, "Damn, I'm gonna ask this girl out." And
That's
I think he asked
cute.
for her number there. Let's
Look
see,
at
they're
them.
both
They're smiling at each other.
I think
They've
he
got,
hit on her.
Yeah,
And I
they've
think this is
got
the start of their
charisma.
relationship.
Yeah,
That's my
they've
headcanon.
got chemistry.
Uh-huh.
Hell yeah, I like that.
And of course, it's a long line, so Richard's like, "Ah!" And
Then they find the self-checkout lane.
yeah,
And it
which I
really
thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely makes it a lot newer than a lot of other stuff. But it also kind of feels dated because the joke is that these things are not reliable and they're Richard just cannot get the first can to scan.
Or is he just that incompetent?
I'm not sure. That's what I was wondering. Is this a critique of like 2011 era scanners, like
Self-service
self-service? Were they this bad, or was this like
We
a
didn't
joke?
even have these at our like grocery stores in
I don't think we
2011.
had them, but they're in
No.
California. They get all the shit.
Yeah, that is
early.
true. They might have had this stuff way before we did. Yeah. Yeah, and we get that whole sequence with him with
weird.
the can.
It's
I don't really
okay.
like it.
It's not like the greatest, but
Which
it's not
again,
the worst.
it's just
not
they
offensive.
don't know what to do with Richard yet.
Yeah,
it's not a
and it
gag
also
that
just
he...
kind of feels like a kid show thing, like
Yeah.
funny scream.
Yeah.
But it's all right. That was definitely something that turned me off from the show, though, because they would always put that in like commercials and shit.
Yeah.
Like it's in the DVD commercial, and I was like, "Oh, this is just a shouty, screamy show. I'm not interested," and that put me off for a little while. That
Shouty, screamy show.
That and the one scene where it's not, I don't know what episode it's in, but the one where it's all about how the family's embarrassing, I think. And it's a scene of like outside the grocery store where the hobo lives. Richard comes in and starts doing this like break dancing.
Oh yeah,
and
the break dance.
he does his like oh
Yeah.
oh. And that was really obnoxious and not very funny out of context. And so that put me off watching the show for a while because that's what they advertised it with.
Yeah.
Cartoon Network was really bad at advertising this show.
Yeah, they over advertise and just
And
go
they advertise
too
all
hard
the
on
wrong
it.
parts.
Yeah, they do that. But then the next scene, we cut to back to the Robinson or the Watterson house, not the Robinson house. My mind's on the last episode. But Richard wants to put everyone in a porta potty,
Yeah.
which is an idea.
And they do kind of argue about it for a little bit, but ultimately they do get in the porta potty, and I was like, why is Nicole putting up with this toilet shit?
Yeah, you think she would be like, I'm not getting in there, Richard.
I wouldn't have. I would have been like, listen, sorry, Richard, I love you, but I am not engaging in this. This is unhealthy behavior.
But Gumball still has his perm.
He does still have his
still has
perm.
his
And Richard put the TV in there with them. And it's still on, which is so funny. I think Richard's got ADHD. He has to have
honestly really
entertainment.
does. And you know what's on TV?
The wrestling.
The wrestling, yeah.
Oh,
That's
look
the
at
wrestling
that.
tape. It has to be, right?
That's great. Yeah,
Which-
that's
'cause then I was like-
because they can't have brought the cable out.
No, that's just a tape. That's a tape, I guess.
That's great. I love that. Of course, there's no actual VCR opening on this TV,
No.
but I don't think
It's a small
that.
thing.
I don't think that affects it because knowing this show, that could have just been on the back.
But yeah,
That's great.
I was like, does Richard watch wrestling after this?
I feel like that's part of his the Geese episode.
Yeah.
Where he has the cape and he wants to be like a superhero.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's that part
I guess
of
he
him.
kind of has like an interest in like martial arts.
He's a hero. He has like he has an interest in like stories where there's like a grand hero.
Yeah.
Probably from his abandonment issues with his dad.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, then
It's very funny because Nicole's like, can we at least take the TV out? And Richard's like, you are describing a world in which I do not wish to live.
Yeah.
Which was just so raw. I was like, oh my god.
He's like,
They
he
just
does not wanna
implied
live
that
without
without
TV.
they just implied that without TV Richard would kill himself.
And yeah, I find it very of the time because it reminded me again of something like Simpsons or shows from our childhood where kids, the thing that kids loved the most was TV.
Yeah.
I feel like that isn't really a thing much anymore. I feel like now it wouldn't be Gumball and Darwin be like, hey, you want to go watch TV? I feel like it would be like, do you want to go watch YouTube or something?
Yeah,
you know?
and they do that later on.
They do that later.
They do
The show
definitely use the
evolves
internet a lot.
into, like, the internet era.
Yeah, because like 2011, it was still reasonable to expect that a poor kid might not have internet, or might not have good internet, or might not have a computer, or there's plenty of explanations.
Was there a computer in their room?
I'm not sure.
Or not the third.
We should check in the responsible.
Yeah, responsible. Yeah, I don't think it.
I'm not sure. I didn't pay
I
attention.
I think it was. I don't know. But anyway,
I'd assume it probably is. Like, I can't imagine that's a new edition, but I might be wrong.
Yeah.
That's very interesting if so. But yeah, they kind of argue, and Nicole and Anais want out, and Anais tries explaining it to Richard that, like, for the last time, this is not an apocalypse, it's just an eclipse. And I thought that Richard's response was very cleverly written. It's apocalypse, eclipse.
Yeah.
Same difference or something like that. And I thought that was very funny.
It's very cute.
Eclipse, I thought was very cute.
That's very cute. And then Gumball and Darwin are like, no, you guys have to stay in here. We'll sacrifice ourselves.
Yeah, we'll sacrifice ourselves. And Nicole gets annoyed with them, and she's like, boys, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Which I love, because not only do I love that sort of, like, as exasperated but not angry, not upset, not expressing a negative emotion parenting that Nicole does, but also the fact that she calls these two the boys as a collective is so cute.
It's very cute.
And it's very telling of, like, how well they get along.
And she does get mad at them, though, when they watch it later.
Yeah, because, like, she doesn't really rarely say, like, the kids, unless somehow they all three are relevant.
Yeah.
But they used the boys, which I think is very much
very
like...
cute.
Yeah, it's a nickname, or, like, little shorthand that really doesn't
They're always together.
Yeah, that they're just always together, and it's so cute.
And so they go out on the roof.
Oh, wait, no. They also say, you guys will have to repopulate the Earth.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did have a note for that.
That's
I was like,
incest.
Huh? I was like, wait a second, Gumball.
I'm actually surprised they were allowed to say that, because that is such a blatant, like, reference to incest.
Yeah.
For a cartoon show.
It was so quick. I don't know if I even noticed it when we watched it, like,
Yeah,
last
I
week.
had to watch it. Yeah, I had to watch it
noticed
again.
it this time, yeah.
But I was like, oh my god.
I'm like, huh?
I mean, it makes sense that these two would, like, not really think about that, obviously, because they're kids.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously this is not two kids talking. This is our writers, you know, writing two kids talking. And so you've got to think about it from that perspective.
Yeah. But then we go to the roof, and Gumball and Darwin are like, I'm so happy I'm spending my last few moments with you, bro, which is very cute.
I'm surprised that they just looked at the sun, because that's a very replicable thing that kids can do.
Yeah,
and you're not supposed to do that. That will blind you.
Yeah, they look straight at this eclipse.
I was like, wow, I'm surprised that they were allowed to do that, because that feels like someone at Cartoon Network would have objected to me.
Some of the law team would have been like, hey, well, you can't have these
You
kids
can't
just
do
like
this,
we
or
do."
else people will sue us because their kids will look at the moon because they wanted to see if it has an ass.
They wanted to see if the moon actually moves the sun. But yeah, the moon moons the sun.
Yeah, which is, not very funny. It is not a very good payoff.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that it just comes and goes. I wanted that to be the payoff. I wanted these two to just be so totally wrong.
Yeah.
But the way they do it is not very fun. I think it would have been so much more fun if it was like, if the moon came out and was like, hey son, how are you doing? I'll see you next, like, decade, or whenever the next eclipse would have been.
Yeah.
I guess they don't happen that infrequently, but, like, that would have been funny.
That would have been cute. Yeah, it's, yeah, I guess that's the point.
It's
not
just
much of a
childish
payoff.
again.
Yeah, it's childish.
But I guess there's some value in that it's not even funny, so the payoff is even worse than if it was a short, funny thing.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it's meta very funny,
Uh-huh.
but, like, the joke itself is not humorous.
I get that. But I do love their reaction. I love Darwin's. He's just like, I just wasted this whole time.
Like, they definitely look like they're wrestling with some internal thoughts with this facial expression. They're just like,
Yeah.
huh.
The animation team,
Yeah.
not necessarily regarding the faces than like the character designs, but the animation team is still very good at having these characters emote what they're thinking.
And I'm definitely glad that they were allowed to just kind of have that quiet moment for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then,
I wish we saw them hanging on the roof more.
yeah,
That'd
that's
be cute.
cute.
I'd love to see that in a sequel. Later, not
Uh-huh.
sequel, next season.
That's definitely more of like an angsty teen thing,
I'd love
so
to
it
see
definitely
that.
would
If they're
check out
older,
for like a
that'd be
season
cute.
7 or the movie.
Can you imagine if season 7 just had like a straight up time jump to like 2
That'd be
years?
insane.
I'd love
I'd be totally down for that. I was super upset we never got an episode where the kids are a little bit older. Like a flash forward episode. I would have loved that. I thought that's what the future was going to be, but it ended up being
something completely
different, even better.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But Gumball's a very sweet message because he's like, you can't take for granted your life or your days because you don't know how long or how short they're going to be. And that's very sweet, but then it's undermined by Gumball or Darwin asking Gumball, "What do you want to do?" And Gumball thinks for a moment. He says, "TV." And then I love the line delivery here. Darwin's just like, "Yeah." And he's just like, "Yep, I knew you were gonna say that." That's what I was
so good. There's a moment in the next episode where his voice acting is
very phenomenal.
Good.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
Absolutely,
so good. I mean, both of them, everyone. But the voice cast in the show is one strength that the show had from the start.
But another thing I wanted to mention is they cannot do that. The TV is in the toilet.
Yeah.
But we cut back to said toilet, and Nicole wants out. She is done with this, so she's like yelling at Richard. They need to get it open. First off, why couldn't she break out of this thing?
Yeah, is it locked from the inside?
I mean, like, she's all powerful. She.
Yeah, I guess we don't quite know that yet.
She turns into an anime. I mean, obviously, in a sort of meta sense, they do that naturally because it's more funny if she's stuck in a toilet with her family.
Yeah.
You know, there's no joke if she just breaks out. But, you know, in universe, I think it's very funny, the idea that she chose
not to.
I think it's even funnier if she wanted out and she tried to get out, but just toilets in this universe are stronger than Nicole.
That's great.
That would be very funny.
But yeah, it cuts back to them. Nicole's upset. Richard's like, you can hear like running. Like, that's just like he's off, like however that works.
And Richard's like, I got this.
And it falls right over, and they get covered in shit.
Feces. That was my last note. It was, they get covered in feces. Yeah. All caps with like 9 question marks.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
That's how the episode ends.
That would, if I watched this as a kid, I'd probably have a fear of that happening to me anytime I went in a porta potty, because that is straight
Nicole's
gross.
pretty pissed.
I would, that's like, legitimately, if that actually happened to someone, that would be like a traumatizing moment. Genuinely. I'd have like PTSD anytime I saw a porta potty.
Absolutely. But, after about an hour and a half, that was the end.
Hope you guys are enjoying. But it is not the end.
It's not the end of us.
Because we have another episode to talk about.
Yes, so we're gonna take a short little 2-minute break or something.
Short little 2-minute break that you guys won't hear. You'll hear a little transition and right back into it.
Yep. All right, welcome back. We are now gonna transition into The Dress.
Very fitting term for this episode.
Yeah, written by Ben Buckley, Mick Graves, and David Katji Newby, which is a name we don't see very often.
Oh, wonder what influence that makes.
Yeah, I don't know, because you have the two like people in charge of the show and whoever David is.
Yeah, who is David?
Oh, and the song lyrics for the song are written by Richard Overall.
Hey, Richard Overall, we talked about him. He can help us find out who Marvin is. We still haven't done that.
Storyboarded by Chris Garbutt.
Darbutt?
Garbutt. Yeah.
B-U-T. I am very immature.
Yeah, well, so are they. So are Gumball and Darwin. Which is
perfect,
we're allowed to
be.
That transitions into what they're doing, because they're doing nonsensical shit.
They're doing dumb stuff.
They are sliding down the stairs covered in ice for whatever reason.
Because Gumball is certain that by his calculations, that will make them travel near the speed of light. And obviously they do that, and they
do that at like 6 a.m., by the way.
Yeah, and they're just hitting the steps, and it's got to be painful. But of course they're kids, so they bounce right back, and they're like, yep, didn't work. But they're like, awesome.
Yeah, and of course after this, the ice is melted, Gumball is naked, Darwin is not.
I don't like seeing him naked. I'm very uncomfortable with seeing him like. I just don't want to see even a cartoon child naked.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see that.
Yeah. He does get naked a few times throughout the show.
And I guess there's a bit of a difference when it's like there's some level of cultural stigma or whatever that like tells us that it's cuter when it's a baby or something.
Yeah.
And they do it, I think, in the Origins, and it's okay there. Yeah. But here, I don't like 12-year-olds being naked.
It's very
There's like
cartoon.
An obvious difference to that.
But yeah, and then he says, like, you can't go to school, you're naked. And
Does he really think he can go to school naked?
Well, he gets very upset when they see him naked later, so I don't know.
It's so weird. Because he's like, I'm ready to go to school. Well, I can't find my clothes, so I gotta go naked. But it's like, would he really do that?
Yeah.
He could just not go.
Yeah, you'd think he would be like, well, I guess I'll just stay home from school then.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, it cuts to Richard in the backyard, asleep.
Yeah, which is very funny, and my immediate note was, why is he sleeping in the backyard? It's kind of a mood, but they actually
But
do address it.
I had the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, immediately, I paused it. I was like, why is he sleeping in the backyard? And then the next thing,
And
Richard
next
Gumbel's
thing,
like,
they're
why are
like,
you sleeping in
in
the
the
backyard?
backyard.
And I was like, oh shit, well.
But it's cute. Like, I kind of love that aesthetic. Could you just imagine a nice warm morning? You don't have to go anywhere, so you
In
just go into
California?
the yard and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like
sounds
you'd be
very
so
nice.
connected to Earth.
Yeah, I know.
Also probably hurt.
That's why I wish, now that when it starts to get warm, I'm going to start having my morning coffee outside.
Oh, what an
That's the
idyllic thing. I
know.
am jealous. Though, the closer we get to summer, the more sunlight I see in the morning. And, like,
More spoons I get.
we get to the point where I wake up because the sun came out.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, let me tell you, that is heaven on earth.
Absolutely.
I love getting all that sunlight. It really does recover spoons so
Absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. But anyway, so Gumbel's like, what's going on? And Richard's like, well, I stayed up all night doing the laundry like your mom asked to.
And it flashes back, and she says, do not, under any circumstances, wash these clothes. And he's like, okay.
Wait, I left a little laundry room here.
They do have a laundry room.
Well, just the
never see
washer
that.
at least, and then they don't have a dryer.
They can't afford
They
a
can't
dryer.
afford a dryer. And that looks like an old washer
Yeah,
too.
you know what? That's what happened with us. Our washer or our dryer broke, except they didn't have parents to bail them out.
Yeah. But yeah. So he's like, all right. So he did it. He tried at
Yeah,
least.
and then he lined up the clothes to dry. Apparently, he spent all night doing that.
And they're super tiny.
How did he do that? I mean, obviously, it's meant to just be like a little hee ha ha, like laundry mishap. This is why he wasn't supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But like without a dryer, is that even possible to shrink the clothes?
Yeah, the shrinking happens on the dryer phase, not on the washing
It's
phase.
weird.
Yeah, it's very
I
weird.
guess maybe like the joke is that he did
He
that
fucked it up
despite
so
the fact
bad.
that it was a dryer line, like a clothesline.
Yeah.
Which is funny, but I don't think properly established if that's what they were going for.
Yeah, no, I get that. And so the clothes don't fit, obviously. They're too small. And Richard picks Gumball up and he, like, tucks him in his shirt.
It's very cute. Like, Richard at no point cared about his son being nude.
Mm-hmm.
Which, even though I just said it's kind of gross, it is very cute for Dad to have that feeling. At least when it's, as wholesome as it is with Richard. Because
Yeah.
it's very cute, because he's like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And he just, he's just not bothered
Yeah,
by
I
his
think it
son.
would have been a lot weirder.
Like, he doesn't sexualize his son.
Yeah, I think it would have
which
been a
is
lot weirder
refreshing.
if Nicole did it.
Yeah, maybe.
It would be like maybe not weirder.
It's
but it would've
like
been, I
a-
think it would've
it's
been
a
different
father-son
context.
thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think yeah.
But,
But yeah, it cuts to assumably is this their bedroom?
Yeah.
Nicole and Richards? Because
I
I had
guess
that
this
in my
is
notes.
Nicole and Richard's bedroom. We do not
We don't see
that.
it very often. I so wish we did. I
Yeah,
want to see
that's
their bedroom.
cute.
We
We
see
don't
we
really
see them
see it.
in bed.
That's something where this show is different than something like a Simpsons.
Yeah.
Because the Simpsons,
Marge and Homer's room is
We
so established.
we see that pretty often because it's a little bit more adult focused rather than focused on the kids.
Yeah, that's true.
But I did note that Gumball's no longer technically naked
Yeah,
because he's
he's got the
inside
Daisy
a
Flakes.
box of Daisy Flakes.
He's eating it.
Which this will come back
Which is a
later.
mood.
So remember that.
But yeah, Richard, the only thing they have in the house, apparently, he can even give him, like, a freaking bag.
He can't even wear like a sheet as a toga.
I know! They give him...
So I guess that wouldn't be much different than what he ends up with.
Yeah, I guess it's true, but at least it would be a toga. But yeah, he gets his mom's wedding dress.
Which
is
is
like
weird,
Which is
but
a strange little
she
moment.
keeps it in a box. I don't think...
On top of the armoire.
Yeah,
which is
my
cute.
mother always kept hers like hanged up in like a dry cleaning bag.
My mom
So
has
it's
done that with a
a
lot of
different
important
situation.
clothes, too. Yeah, or if it's a cultural thing. Maybe
Yeah.
this is because it's European. Who knows? Or maybe
Maybe.
this is just convenient. I don't know.
And maybe I wonder what they're telling us by showing it in that way instead of being like on a hanger.
Yeah, my mom hung up my, like, graduation gowns and stuff in, like, a nice bag.
My mother did not keep any of my clothes. She was like, "Hey, once you're like a teenager, you're responsible for that." And I don't pry.
My mom was very hard on, like, hey, make sure you keep this. This is like your graduation. This is like this and this. And I'm glad I still have some of it.
Yeah.
Don't really know what to do with it, but I still have it. But anyway, this is neither here nor there. Richard's hanging onto the armoire, and Gumball's like, no, I don't want to wear this dress. He's like, please, your mom's gonna know that I'm a bad dad.
And it's, it's another sign. Here's our first instance of him being good with these kids. Because he's good with these kids because he has a positive relationship with his own masculinity. Mm-hmm. He, again, we've talked about this before. He's comfortable with crying in front of his kids, which is super sweet. Mm-hmm. And he's, in a lot of other shows, a lot of lesser shows, a lot of older shows, you would think that the dad character crying would have been played off as some sort of joke, or it would have been like a negative trait. Mm-hmm. Like if Homer did it, you would think that their thing is that he's like, oh, he's being so hysterical over something silly. But in this case, Richard cries, and it's positive because it gets Gumball to do something. Yeah. It is considered like a motivation for Gumball, and it's not like, Dad, don't do this, you're embarrassing. It's, no, Dad, I don't want to see you cry. Yeah. And that's cute. Yeah. That's very sweet.
Yeah, it's very positive in that regard. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
But he leaves and goes to put it on, and Richard's like, I'm surprised this thing is still holding up.
And you think it's going to collapse?
It starts rumbling like it's going to collapse, and instead the door just, open. For no reason, swings open and slams him through the window. Pretty funny. It's very funny, but also just very cartoony. There's no explanation for why that happens. Happens.
I think that would have.
That was a Looney Tunes slapstick joke.
You can go back as far as the Looney. Yeah, it's a Looney Tunes. You can go all those cartoons.
That was just. Why did this happen? Because it's funny if it does. Yeah. And you know what? It was. It was very funny.
It absolutely was. So we cut, and Gumball is wearing the dress and the tiara for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why he needs. I mean,
I guess it's just because that's what he wanted. They wanted him to look like that. It is weird. Also, I don't know. That's kind of a Gumball thing. I could see him being like, well, if I have to wear it, I'm definitely going to accessorize.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he would do that.
He was like, well, this came with it, so I got to wear the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I can't separate an outfit. But he's hiding. He doesn't want anyone to see him. He's super nervous because he's like, what if someone from school sees me? Which is like, eventually it's going to happen, bud.
Yeah, like that's not, you're not going to be able to hide from that all day.
But he's hiding, and then big stops happen because a group of kids, including Tina, walks up, and they don't know who he is. Yeah. Uh-huh. Tina's like, who are you? And I thought this was interesting. They all walked up. This group is the Watterson kids, of course. Tina, Molly, Masami, Alan, Leslie, Penny, and Tobias.
They all live in the same neighborhood.
They're all coming here to get the same bus stop to go to school. They all live close enough that these kids can all walk to the bus stop? The same one?
Well, we know Tobias doesn't.
Tobias does not.
We know Tina lives in the dump, so probably not.
Of course, that's just cartoon inconsistency. But in universe, it's very funny because it's like, why? Why do they all take the same bus? How awful is that of a trip for Tobias every morning? I guess he's technically quote unquote athletic, so maybe he jogs it and it's like part of his health routine.
That's true. But yeah, they're immediately like, "Who are you?" It even fools Penny.
Somehow.
And he's like, "Well, I'm Gumball."
We do this like, it's kind of very tropey in cartoons where a character's trying to come up with like something on the spot. So they go, I'm
Window.
And then they look around and they see things in the world and kind of just shout it out, and it leads to a name. And I gotta say, I do not find this funny really at all.
Yeah,
I do not care for this trope. And this like inversion of it is not. It's just not funny.
Yeah, I don't really care for it much. I like to see all the people, like the underwear guy.
Yeah, it's weird to see all these like weird people that exist, and it is, in a sense, it's kind of funny when you like. It's funnier in text than it is in speech. Yeah. And I do have it written. Gumball's identity is Gumball Oops Egg Wobble Underpants from Gumball no wig, battle axe,
Axe
and
ninja.
ninja. And that's in Europe.
I love the ninja looking at the high heels.
The ninja's very funny.
The ninja, I do like the ninja, and I like the battle axe guy.
Yeah, the battle
Pretty
axe.
good.
They
So
are
that's
funny, like
the best part of that joke.
they are funny background characters.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I wish.
give
I
them
don't
that.
think we see them again, but I wish we did. So yeah, it does the whole name shtick, and everyone's like, "Oh."
Look how like proper Tina's standing. She's
Yeah.
so tall.
But I do like this is something I think speaks to Elmore is that they're immediately like, "Oh, hey, you want to like be friends?" You know?
Yeah.
And they don't even. It's not even about the dress at this point.
Uh-huh.
If they're just immediately like, "Oh, new person, come like hang out with us," and I thought that was very cute. Nobody
is very
bullies her,
welcoming, yeah.
or him, I guess, whatever. But nobody.
You know, maybe
nobody
there's
thinks of the freak.
maybe there's an interesting inversion of this episode where they can all tell it's a boy dressing in girls' clothes,
So
and
they're
they
trying to
just
be affirming
assume it's
as
a trans
possible.
woman.
So they're trying to be as extra like affirming as possible.
Yeah.
That's a great reading of it.
Obviously, I don't think that's actually what's going on
But I
in
think that's-
canon, but it's a very
I think
cute
that's what's
reading
gonna
of
be
it.
happening in my mind.
I have notes of that later on.
But yeah, he gets on the bus with him, and we see Tina almost get on the bus.
Yeah,
I
so
want-
it's implied that she does get on it. It just cut away, but like, how does she?
How does she get on
She
the
is
bus?
taller than the bus.
She shouldn't be able to even enter the school doors.
No.
But I love that gag that they don't explain it. It's very
like
funny.
the way it's framed, it's definitely like they knew it was absurd, and they were just like, "We're not going to show you this. We're just going to imply it did happen," which is funny.
Yeah, and then Darwin enters the scene.
Uh-oh, guys, this is where the episode gets bad.
I think this might be the lowest point of the
This
series.
is the opposite of the Penny conversation we had earlier.
This is the opposite of the disaster.
This is the Sheldon of this show.
Yeah. I would love to sort of know where this came from and
Yeah,
why
who
they did it.
suggested this?
Was this David Capjaby Newby's idea? Because
If it is,
Mick and,
I'm glad we don't see him very often.
yeah, if it was Ben and Mix,
Then like, oh,
I
you
just-
guys had an L.
yeah, it's let's get into it. So Darwin enters the scene, and he sees a button, but that dress definitely didn't have buttons.
No,
It's a pink button,
It's
too.
not even a button that would be on a wedding dress. It's just a big pink button that
Do you
would
think
look
he
like it
just
would be on
found
a
it on the
cardigan.
street? Do you think that's like maybe a joke?
I
he
can
just
read
found
that,
a button?
that is funny.
That is
if
kinda
that's
funny?
the case, that it's not part of the
I was,
dress.
and
but he
Anais
just
had been like,
assumed-
but that wasn't even on her dress or something, or his dress
Yeah.
or whatever. I think that would have been kind of cute.
that would have been cute.
But I don't know if that was the intention because they don't establish.
Yeah.
that.
But he finds it and he's like, this was a part of her dress. And he giggles about, it's immediately obvious he is romantically attracted to who he thinks is a new girl at school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, it's a decision. It leads to some interesting gags, but I guess we'll get there.
I did note that, like, I've heard of an Oedipus complex, but what is the complex for when you want to fuck someone who's just like your brother? Because, like, canonically, he
And
doesn't
your mom.
know. Yeah, this is like canonically, this is not like he doesn't know this is Gumball, but clearly, whoever he looks like has to look something like him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just thinking, like, does that mean Gumball, like Darwin's ideal woman, is just a female Gumball? Do you think
don't
this
like
is
that.
what? Do you think they were? Do you think they were making fun of this in the shipping?
I
When
hope
he
so.
paired the two.
Maybe they were. Yeah,
I hope so,
That's
because
cute.
Gumball is the one in the dress. He
Yeah.
does get like gender swapped in that.
Yeah, maybe that's a reference to the dress.
I hope so.
but I mean,
It's
Sarah wasn't around
so
for this
cute.
though. But you know,
But she spies on them their like whole lives.
I guess that's true.
Maybe not their whole
Yeah.
lives. She's already spying on them before we meet her. So
But I love when we cut to the class and we see everyone in school in different seats.
yeah, you see, this is where Tina does not have.
She's not at a
the
desk.
desk. I did
Everybody's in a
remember.
different spot. By
I
the way-
also made a note. For some weird reason, Tobias has buck teeth.
Yeah, what is that? It's very funny. Maybe that was just like a little thing the animators threw in there just to
It
like,
might
be
just
like,
be like a little joke, be like, in case you noticed, look at this.
This is a funny little thing. And also, Carrie's pissed. Look at her.
Oh, yeah, look at her.
She's so mad.
She's
I don't know why.
disillusioned. She does not
I
recognize
guess were they like thinking that Carrie was just gonna be like the angry
the
emo
angry
girl?
goth girl. Yeah. they might not have had a personality for her yet. She hasn't been a speaking role.
No, that's true. We haven't actually heard her talk yet. So, but then we see Darwin doodling a little drawing of
a reference to the Titanic.
A reference to the
Draw
Titanic.
me like one
apparently.
of your French girls, which implies that this is correlated to a drawing of like a nude woman, which is kind of gross.
And it's his brother.
But it's his brother dressed
In a
as
dress.
a girl,
Uh-huh.
with voluptuous hips.
She's Gumball, whatever you call this, has got a big ass.
The big long name, Gumball Oops Egg Wobble
Yeah,
Underpants,
she's
has
got
a
big
huge ass. But
Darwin's an ass kid.
yeah, it's kind of weird, but I do love anytime they depict a child's drawing abilities in the show,
She is very
because
cute.
it feels so real. It's never like super childish, like a 4-year-old drew it, but it's also like very rarely kind of like super good, like more than you'd expect. They do that once for Sarah, and with Sarah it's justified because she is that kind of weird kid that would learn how to draw like comics.
Yeah. Well, this is very different than what his letter looks like later.
Yeah, it is, but I think that's kind of just like a difference of intent and how much time Darwin spent on it.
Yeah, that's
Felt like
true.
the same kid drew this, and it's cute. It feels like something that would be on DeviantArt.
Yeah.
So, ignoring the context of this being his brother, it's very cute.
Well, that's a hard context to ignore.
It is. But if you look at that one particular, part of it, it's nice.
But, then Gumball's like, hey, can I borrow a pencil?
I didn't. No, he's like, I didn't do the homework. Can
Oh,
I
yeah,
copy
that's
off
right,
yours?
yeah.
And everyone's all excited, like, oh, me. How about mine?
And Bobbert.
I don't like that. That was what I was going to bring
Yeah.
up. That's one of the things I don't like about this. I don't like just how willing everyone is, and how most of them are boys.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like everyone's vying for like romantic partner for this, girl version of Gumball that they're interacting with. And I do not like that, especially because they don't take the time to consider who's making these comments.
Yeah.
Bobbert's making one, and I cannot. But there's literally an episode at the end of the show talking about, like, explaining love to Bobbert.
Yeah.
And they're proud of this. Like, Studio AKA uses a clip, uses an image of that to represent this entire show in its entirety on their website. And yet here, that whole episode is just kind of, in my mind, I feel like it's kind of kicked into the dirt a little bit, because Bobbert here is experiencing what kind of feels a lot like a romantic interest in a girl. And I don't like that, because my ideal Bobbert is asexual. Because
Bobbert,
he doesn't have like feelings for other people. And I love that about him.
Yeah.
And I was upset that he gets that here.
And again, I guess it just simply comes down to they just didn't really know who these characters were yet.
Yeah.
They were just like, these are just kids, but they're like these forms, They weren't distinctly Bobbert or Leslie or Alan or whoever.
Yeah, it was just kind of the design at this point. They weren't necessarily their characters yet.
Yeah, but it'll be great when we get there.
We will, and it will get a lot better. Also, why does this trick Miss Simeon? She looks over and thinks it's Gumball for a second until she sees his face, at which point she's like, who are you?
Yeah.
And the kids tell her the lie that they were told about the name and the place, and somehow they remembered it perfectly.
Yeah, and she's like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard!
But you're wearing a very pretty dress.
Yeah, that's where I was like, why would Miss Simeon care if Gumball looks pretty? Like, she doesn't fucking care about that shit.
Makes me wonder, is this the first cursed object?
The dress?
Is this the first cursed item? Because it seems to have some level of, like, allusion to it.
It can make anybody fall in love with it, except Anais.
Yeah, it makes, like, most people not realize who you are. At least for him. And I guess it's maybe a proto-cursed item. Kind of feels like maybe that idea was kind of inspired by this.
Yeah.
That all works, and Gumball doesn't have to turn in homework.
Yeah, he's like, you can sit there and be pretty, and we'll
The
continue
rest of us get back to class! And so this scene ends.
Wait, before we go there, I noted one little thing. When I know Bobbert's head lowers, and when everyone gets bummed, even he's like, it's very cute.
That's funny.
Everyone's
I
bummed
like,
about it.
Alan's.
Yeah.
I loved watching Tina's face fall. It's very funny.
But I thought that was cute.
That's one of my favorite things about season 1 is how much Tina's included, because she is so excluded from the later seasons. And it's
really
sad, because I love her. She's such a funny, thing to look at.
Yeah, she's one of the highlights of the early seasons.
Yeah.
We get a lot of Tina.
But,
easy character to market.
yeah, Darwin comes running out, and he's all ecstatic.
Yeah, we got another Darwin moment.
And I have something as a small background detail. I noted some of the stickers and, things that are kind of decorating the lockers of the area. And so, I have here, there's a graffiti on the wall that says, Bear was here, and it's spelled wrong.
Yeah.
At least, assumably, it's here. It says E-R-E, and I don't see an H, but I assume it's here. I was wondering, because it's a little bear, and it says, Bear was here. Was this made by Motown? The teddy bear, guy from Detention?
Oh, maybe.
Did he do that graffiti?
He might have been, yeah.
It is a bear.
Bear, yeah. That's entirely possible.
There's also a sticker labeled Smash in all caps with an expression mark and a green guy with big wide arms, which kind of reminds me of Earthbound. The Starmen and the critical hit attack. There's also a weird ovular, face that's shaped like an 8 with one eye. It's really weird. There's also a skull with mouse ears screaming, "Help me!"
Yeah, I saw that one.
And there's also a frowning face with its tongue sticking out. You can't see all of those by this point in the episode, but I figured I'd just put them all together instead of describing them as they show up. And that's all of the ones that are new that I've noticed this time around, which is very funny.
Mm-hmm. I love those little graffiti.
But yeah,
bits of graffiti.
Darwin comes running out, and he's all he's feeling jubilee, and he's dancing and running around, and he runs up to Anais, and I will give this episode credit. It does give, for a brief moment, what I wanted more of in the debt. Anais and Darwin communicating without Gumball.
Without Gumball around, yeah.
This is not good interaction for them,
No.
and it's very short, too, but I can appreciate it for what little is there, because I do genuinely really want that. That is, of course, I don't really have anything that I'm thinking of for Season 7, but of the things they could do in Season 7, that is a high priority. It's something I really want. I want those two.
I can't wait till we get...
To be fair, I'm not sure if we get the same thing with Gumball and Anais with no Darwin.
I think we do.
I'm not sure if we
maybe
do.
A few times, but I think there are definitely some.
But yeah, I'm definitely more interested in the Darwin one.
Yeah.
Because we don't get Darwin-centric episodes. We got one. And it was great. It was amazing.
One of my favorites, I think.
That's top 10. Maybe top 5.
I love that episode. But anyway, that's far from here. We cut back and... so I just had a thought. If this is Nicole's wedding dress, how does it fit Gumball?
Yeah, that's just some cartoon logic, because we do get apparently the wiki said that we do get a flashback where we see her wearing this dress, and it is sized to fit her. So
is it this dress?
Yeah,
that's cute.
Because it is her wedding dress.
Yeah, so I'm glad. Well, I'm glad they kept it though.
Yeah,
that's nice.
So it just grows in length. Assumably that's just cartoon shit. Yeah. Also, maybe that's part of its cursed item thing.
It shrinks.
Because I could very well see that. A wedding dress is expensive, so
got it from the Awesome
Well, they're
store?
trying to find one, and Richard probably found it for her from the Awesome store because he always seems to keep finding his way.
He
there.
said, wasn't he his best customer or something?
Yeah, he's his best customer, I think, or maybe that's Granny JoJo.
Oh, maybe.
I think it's
she gets a bunch
his
of stuff
best
from
customer.
him. Yeah. Well, there you go, man. That's how he got
still,
it.
yeah, maybe that's how he found this wedding dress.
Maybe it was hers.
Maybe it's Granny JoJo's.
I don't know if Nicole would have worn that.
Yeah, I don't
unless
think.
he didn't tell her.
Maybe,
I
she
got
probably,
a wedding dress.
She probably didn't have as bad of a relationship with her before they had kids.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I still don't think she liked her because she didn't, she doesn't appreciate...
She kicked Richard out.
Yeah, she doesn't appreciate the way she handled Richard, but maybe it wasn't quite as bad.
Yeah. More stuff I'm very excited to talk about later.
Yeah, can't wait.
This just pales in comparison to what we get later. We get so much depth, and I'm enjoying rewatching this, but I'm just so anxious to get to the depth.
And we've had good discussions this episode.
I mean, we're almost 2 hours now. So.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a bit of a longer one.
Yeah, we apologize.
We've had so much more to say.
We just have lots to talk about.
But you know
what?
Anyway. It's just, there's a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of good stuff, but there is a lot, especially... A lot of it is the dress, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been both, but I think this one, there's just a lot of like stuff to talk about that's kind of metatextual.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it as it comes.
But we cut to them. Darwin is, or every time we do this podcast, I always mix up.
He's
their
something
names.
to do with being high, I think.
Being
We
high
just
and
get him
ADHD.
high. Yeah.
Gumball is kind of leading the group of students down
I
the
do
hallway,
love his
which is kinda
face. It's
cute.
very funny.
I like his little dress animations.
Yeah,
like
he's so into this.
I do love
Of
how
course
happy
he
he
would.
gets into it. He's very excited to be a beautiful girl, and I do love that.
Uh-huh.
It is very cute. But then there's like a random puddle here.
And they're all arguing on how to do it. And when we get to Banana Joe's part of it, I noticed in the background there's a poster
what does
that
it
says Mobile Observatory.
Huh.
And you notice it's an observatory with like little legs.
Legs. Is it a person?
I don't know. I was thinking maybe that's like something made by the same company as Bobbert.
Yeah, very well might be. But yeah, there's a puddle, and Banana Joe like takes his skin off, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, walk on it." And Masami's into it.
Yeah, which is really weird. I don't think she would be. She's like definitely like a kind of a queen bee.
Well, yeah, I just like, it was interesting as a girl vying for another girl.
Also that, yeah, but like there's a couple of girls that are interested, and I think it's not explicitly romantic. I don't think it feels that way with them where it does kind of feel that way for the boys.
Yeah, which I don't like.
I don't like it. That's part of the problem.
But yeah, but then Clayton is who we see for the first
smashed
time.
by
Is
Tina's
smashed,
foot.
and it's not the
His
Clayton
voice
we know
is
later.
not. Yeah, it's not the same.
He's smashed by Tina because she's like, "You can ride in my mouth,"
Which is so weird. Why wouldn't she be like, "You can ride on my back"?
I kind of love it though. It's very.
Of course,
weird
it's very
request.
Tina. And she has bad breath.
Yeah, but they're all just. He's just like, well, I could just walk around it, and they're all like, "Wow,
So smart,
girl
shit.
boss."
I don't
And then they walk
understand
away.
why they just walk away. I mean, obviously they do because they needed them to leave the scene.
Yeah.
But this is not a very like natural reason.
Yeah, like why did they just like?
He doesn't
suddenly-
even like shoo them away.
Yeah.
You would think they could have at least added a little shoo, like, "See, I'm fine now. Come on, get out of here. Leave me alone," or something.
But yeah, so then it's just Gumball and Anais for a little bit, and I thought this was cute that we don't often see like Anais in the school with them. I think we might have mentioned this, but I think
we don't
that's
see
cute.
that too often, and it's fun. Because again, here's another little piece of like, hey, if you could have noticed before they told you that she is in the same school as them, despite being like 4 years old.
Yeah.
But here's where another part where this episode is not good. Anais is like, or Gumball doesn't understand why everyone's being so like great to him. And Anais is because she's like, it's because they think you're a pretty girl.
Beautiful woman or something like that.
I think they say pretty girl. So, yeah, we get this idea of Gumball's like being seen as a beautiful girl, and the world will do anything for a beautiful girl. And I just thought that from like a feminist lens, I do not like this concept.
It's
This feels very
outdated.
not written by a woman. It does not feel like this is a real, honest to goodness feminist critique of like beauty culture and the way we treat like attractive women, and how we've got this really big, really like unobtainable beauty standard for girls.
Yeah.
None of that really feels addressed or even really brought up like it's a thing that even is influencing the way these people are interacting, even though it very obviously is.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with that. I think it's very outdated. I think it's like one of the worst parts of this, like most outdated thing on this.
This is one of the few times that this show tackles something poorly, I think.
Yeah.
And who were the writers on this? Was there a woman in the writers'
It was
room?
Ben, Mick, and David. Something.
So no,
So it was 3 men.
there were no women. Well, except for my little pet theory.
Yeah.
But there were no women in this writer's room. Said it shows. It really does show, and that's unfortunate because it rarely does show in this show.
Yeah,
It
because we
did.
just talked about how Penny was so good.
Yeah. But this is a bad depiction of this type of thing. Though I will admit, if it just had some women writing it, I do love the way that that Gumball is just so willing to exploit it immediately. He's so excited with the possibilities. And so he runs to Anais's locker. At least I think it's hers because she's at the locker.
She's
right?
there when
So
when
yeah,
the scene
this is
starts.
her locker. So he runs up to it because she has a mirror in it, which I thought was interesting. Why does Anais have a mirror in her locker? But also, there's a bunch of stuff in the background, a bunch of little
very
decorations, and I have them noted. First off is a Daisy the Donkey sticker
Yeah.
just up top. You can just barely read the
very
donkey. There's also super weird a real life photo of a white dog. I have to assume this is like someone on the shows.
Animation.
But it's there when it looks like it's got a little caption that says "Friends Forever."
Who's this bulldog that she friends with?
If I had to guess, I'd imagine in the real world, maybe this is like a pet that's either beloved or maybe passed, and this is their way of honoring that.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what I kind of thought. But it does make me wonder, who is this to Anais?
Yeah.
Like, if you actually look at that as something that's actually canonically in her locker and she put it there,
why? It seems like they really didn't know what to put in her locker.
But it's funny. I mean, it's cute. You don't.
But I like the math book and the physics book.
Yeah,
that's what she's learning. She's got a physics book.
She's already in the physics class. There's also Planet Earth.
That's cute.
And then one interesting thing is there's a magic wand in there. It is the exact same wand as the one from season 1, episode 29, the wand. But I skipped ahead a little bit to see where they got that. I was hoping that because Anais has a copy of this thing, that it came from a box of the Daisy Flakes from earlier. They established that earlier, and I thought it would be a great little, like, thing that kind of built world building that's kind of in the background. They don't really tell you. But, no, because in the episode, they get it from a box of Dizzy Flakes. But it's the same box design, it's just a different color, and it's Dizzy instead of Daisy, which makes me think that in universe, Daisy Flakes is just a shitty, corporatized version. No, it's the exact same cereal. It's just a brand deal to change the branding for Daisy.
That's great.
That's my interpretation.
I think that's
so. They
great.
are the same cereal, just like the promotion ran out by the time the wand happened.
I do love that. I think that's a great little theory.
I think that's very funny.
That's very cute. But anyway, Gumball is immediately like, yeah, I'm excited to be a beautiful girl, and I love that for him. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I love it.
And then we see Darwin again. And
why is he being such a creep?
I do like his weird expressions, though.
His expressions are very fun, but this is just so out of character for him.
He just got done talking about last episode where he was like, I want to be a good person and help people and blah, blah, blah. And now he's doing this weird shit. Though I do like his little Polaroid camera.
Yeah, he does have just like a straight up Polaroid camera. But This kind of feels like this is written not with characters in mind, but roles, and they just put the characters in them. Like, you and I, we do, like, one of our really weird things that we do as a friend group.
It's a tick.
Yeah, it's a tick, I think, is we just, like, run skits with a couple of characters that we've come up with, and they're all, like, shit posts. But, they have consistent personalities, and we will just, like, do stuff that is completely original with them, and in that sense we'll be very consistent with their characters, but a lot of the times we'll just put them in a role that we think is funny and we want to see how they react to one another. And that's kind of how this episode's felt. It's like, instead of asking what would happen if Gumball was in a dress and Darwin saw it, they ask, what would happen if a boy was in his dress and his brother found him attractive? And they just kind of force these two into those roles, is kind of how it feels.
It's very not Gumball.
I refuse to believe that with their bond, Darwin wouldn't have been able to resist this dress's effect and been like, that's you, Gumball.
Or notice that he's not even, like, concerned about his brother this entire time.
Yeah.
Which definitely is not all Darwin.
Anais can notice that's Gumball. I think Darwin absolutely should have been, I would say, even more capable of noticing that was Gumball. Because they have a very special connection, and we just don't get that here.
Like I said, I think this might be the lowest point of the show.
This
I think, probably the worst
this is worse than the dead. Yeah, this is definitely like the new.
This is worst episode material.
This is the new least favorite worst episode, which again, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's mediocre. It's at the low point of mediocre.
Yeah.
But it is not bad. And if this is the worst, the show never is bad.
Yeah.
And that's a great, that's a great sign for the whole show, like in its entirety.
Yeah, this is not a badly made episode of television by any means. Like, it still looks good. The voice actors are still great. It's just the story stuff. You know, like it's not a bad episode by any means, like you said. It's just very strange.
Yeah, it's just
story
some of the
choices.
writing's not good.
Very
The
questionable
story
writing.
choices are weird, and
Which
it's
of
just,
course can make or break an episode, but I
yeah,
think
and in this case,
it's on the line.
it doesn't necessarily break it because it was not super great to begin with.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do it any favors.
It's not like this is in season 6. If this were like a
No.
random season 6 episode, then we'd have some
It'd be
questions.
great, and we'd have learned something new about Gumball by the end of it, and Darwin.
We'd be like, I'm gonna wear more dresses more often.
Yeah, he's like starting to kind of do it a little bit of gender nonconformity. That'd be cute.
That would be very cute. But yeah, then Darwin like licks the picture.
And then he
slaps
sticks
on
it to his like
face.
eyes and then
It's
runs
weird.
away. Like sticks it right in his forehead so his eyes can only see it.
It's
And runs
fucking
away.
Weird.
And Gumball's oblivious to what's happening. It's so weird and gross.
Yeah, I honestly, if you cut out the Darwin stuff, this episode's like not nearly as bad.
No, yeah, this Darwin's a lot of this is just it would be a lot better without him because
Yeah,
it's just
if you just
it's
cut out
so
all this
blatant how out of character he's being.
Yeah.
This is not Darwin. This is just someone with like possessed Darwin.
Yeah. But then we do cut to the cafeteria and we see everybody getting lunch. I love how happy Anton is.
Yeah.
He's so
Until
happy.
he gets his bad food
Until he
and then
gets
he's
his bad
sad.
food. And Ocho, I love his little flash of anger.
He gets angry. Yeah,
It's
he's
so funny.
It is very
I love
funny.
Ocho.
Ocho is
Ocho's
wonderful.
great. But I love all the background characters that we see, which we saw these characters in the last time we saw back on
Yeah,
TV.
it's
I
the
remember
exact
talking
same
about-
background.
Yeah, I remember talking about the bear girl, the dog, and these guys.
Yeah, this is literally the exact same like background, and they just reused it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
It's
then,
alright.
then
It's-
Gumball gets like a 5-course meal, like 5-star meal.
Yeah, it looks like something that you would have to spend near $100 to get.
Yeah.
And he just looks up like smug, like, oh yeah.
That is a very good face. That's a good Steve picture.
Yeah,
too.
that's like definitely very like Gumball. Like
Uh-huh.
you definitely can feel his inner monologue. And I love that. That's something the show does like good in season 1, but then like by the time you get to like 3, 4, 5, 6, it gets phenomenal. I have never seen a show do facial expressions with so much character and charm and story to them
Yeah.
as this show.
This is
they
so
are
good.
so great at representing very niche, very specific feelings with faces later on. And it is, this is kind of the start of that.
Yeah.
This
absolutely.
isn't as good as that, but it's
The
definitely in the
animation
same.
team is just great. Like, there are no problem with the animation team.
Oh,
The
yeah.
character designs we can talk about, but like the animations themselves, the characters'
This is
faces,
doing good,
expressions, all great. All good,
it's great.
which is always a highlight of the show.
But, of course, Gumball eats his delicious meal, and he has to burp, so he just lets it out, which is gross.
Oh, and then
But,
Darwin puts it in a bag and hugs it.
ugh.
Oh, that's not even the most foul thing he does.
No, which is like, you know what? That would be fucking hilarious if Sarah did it.
Yes, yeah.
But Darwin is not Sarah, and that's the problem. Maybe this is where Sarah came from.
Yeah, they
is
wanted
someone
to
on the
do this
writers'
character.
room thought this was hilarious and didn't want to do it with Darwin anymore.
But yeah, we cut to like the outside, like the track area, I guess, like the whatever stadium.
How can this
Elmore
be
Junior High
possibly
has.
be a fair race if they did it for real?
But then everyone's racing.
Yeah. And
Which is
again, we
very
have
cute.
another situation where Miss Simeon's the only teacher, and
Yeah, we don't have coach
That's
yet.
definitely something that this show has in season 1 is like one teacher-itis.
Yeah.
That's got to be a trope on TV
We
tropes,
haven't
right?
even met Mr. Principal Brown yet.
No, we
Like,
have
unofficially.
solely met her, and she's just like every part of the faculty at this point.
Yeah, and we'll
and
see
maybe we'll
Mr.
see like
Small.
the fucking Band-Aid nurse or something.
Yeah.
Whatever her name was, Hakeem or whatever.
I don't think that's right at all.
I don't think it starts with an H and has a K in it. I think,
I don't remember, but I'll take your
but
word for
or Markham or some shit.
it. Yeah, Nurse Markham.
Markham,
Yeah,
hey, all right. But yeah, like maybe we'll see her. But this is just one of those things where this is a very cartoony thing where you see one teacher and that is the only person that seems to work at the school, and I don't like that. I
Yeah.
really don't like that. That's a very cartoony thing that they do in this season, and I'm glad we got away
Yeah,
from
I
it.
can't wait
in
till we get
season,
Coach and
like what 2?
the frog guy.
They
yeah.
come in immediately.
They start
in 2?
coming in. I mean, I think we see Principal Brown at least, and Mr.
Well,
Small
you
get
know,
some episodes.
we will know by next week because someone will tell us in the comments.
Yeah, probably. But the only one not participating in the race is Bobbert.
Bobbert's holding up the line,
Bobbert's
which is
holding the line,
funny,
which is cute.
but at the same time, again, this fits into my I don't like that Bobbert is like kind of playing along with us because I don't feel like he would.
Yeah.
But speaking of people who wouldn't, look who's into it now. Carrie.
Yeah.
Carrie's into it now.
And I like when they all, like, my note was, everyone blows Gumball.
Everyone blows Gumball,
And,
including Juke, who does
Yeah,
not
that's
have
what I was. Yeah, that was my
lips.
note. He does not have a mouth, but he's still doing it.
He does have, like, the cassette tape, which is, like, where he beatboxes from, I
Yeah.
think. So I guess that's his mouth, but, like, he doesn't blow. He can't blow with that thing.
But I do love Bobbert's a little excited.
He is
arms
excited,
up.
which
It's very
is cute.
It's
It
very
is
cute.
cute.
I
I
do
will
like
admit that.
And
Again, animation and expressions are always great.
And so Darwin comes up with a rag, and Gumball wipes the sweat on it. And Darwin takes it and puts the sweat into a heart-shaped locket.
Again,
Which is fucking weird.
again, this would be hilarious in a Sarah episode. Not great.
Honestly, if they had just done this episode like 2 seasons from now, it could have been something much
would-
different.
Oh, I would love if they straight up just did this episode with Sarah. And it was just like Sarah's bi.
That would be cute.
She loves them, and she loves Girl Gumball.
But yeah, then everyone carries Gumball into the school again on like a gurney.
A weird gurney throne.
Yeah, it's like on a Greek throne.
Yeah, like an emperor, a Roman emperor would
including
sit
Molly.
on. Including Molly, which is great. I love
Bobber.
anytime we get to see her because she disappears and you don't really notice if you're not paying attention.
I sure didn't. But yeah, then of course Gumball's like, "This is great. This is awesome."
And Anais is like, "Nope, I'm the smart sibling, therefore I'm going to be the one that's telling you, the right answer, the right solution."
Yeah. Then we see Mr. Small for the first time.
And it's gross and weird and
It's gross
creepy.
and weird.
He's a little too excited about this girl that is a child, that is 12, when he is when he's turned into a human in season
Like
6.
50s.
He looks very old. That's gross.
Yeah, and it's definitely not his voice either. He's got a country accent, which he has for the entire first season, by the way.
It's weird.
So
I don't.
we'll probably hear him speak more, and that's
don't
not
like
the
this.
voice I associate with him.
Again, yeah, the show just gets so much more refined season 2 and beyond.
I love Mr. Small later on.
Mr. Small later, I mean, there's not a single character in the show I dislike. Honestly, I don't think there's a single character in this show that I don't love.
Yeah.
Genuinely. Even the
they're
characters
also
that
good.
even the characters that we don't get a whole lot of, like the Lego construction guys.
The fingerprint criminal.
Yeah, and Sal
Sal
left thumb.
yeah, it's his name.
Yeah, I love them. Even though they don't get a whole lot of character, and I love the characters we're meant to hate too.
Yeah.
Like, I forget her. I always forget her name, but the orange woman who's
Oh,
just like
yeah.
a Karen.
Not
we're meant
Karen,
to
but
we're
the
meant
other
to hate
Karen.
her, but I love to hate her. Every character in the show is just so great.
Yeah, I've said before, there's not a single time where we got to an episode and I was like, oh, it's going to be this character episode or like that,
There's never a character I'm upset that they're focusing on.
But anyway, yeah, we see Mr. Small very briefly.
For some reason, his back is twisted. I think there's maybe a joke there. That
Yeah,
because
because Gumball's everybody, because
bending
Gumball
over
says bad words
backwards.
for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he says that. And then Anais hands him this note from Darwin, which I do love, the poorly written note.
Yeah, so
It's kind of cute.
yeah, the note's very cute. I love the colors. I love the handwriting. I love his little drawings. I love his self-portrait under the rainbow is
Cute.
so cute. But he wants to meet at the Stomach Destroyer roller coaster. So I now have that in my notes that is a canonical thing in the world, is the Stomach Destroyer. And it made me wonder, hey, is this in Cowpoke Land?
Maybe this isn't Cowpoke Land.
Yeah, and we actually get to see the amusement park, so I'm saying
This is Cowpoke
that is
Land.
Cowpoke Land.
I like that. But yeah, of course, Gumball doesn't actually fucking understand what's going
No,
on.
and he's being a little bitch as always.
Yeah.
He's
Anais
like,
is
oh,
yeah.
Anais, you're so dumb. You get these worry lines. You'll never be as beautiful as me.
Yeah, of course it immediately goes to his head.
But yeah, we cut to what I am going to call Cowpoke Land.
Cowpoke Land, there's a bowling center.
There's a bowling center and a sky
The
drop
sky drop,
alongside
and
the
it's the thing
stomach.
with like ducks on it.
Yeah,
Whatever it is.
alongside the Stomach Destroyer.
Yeah, alongside the stomach destroyer.
Which Gumball gets in immediately because there's no one in line.
Yeah.
But
I do love the expression.
Do love Darwin's
That is
expression.
great. That's
Genuinely,
very funny.
I think this is the first episode that has truly great expressions in it.
Uh-huh.
I think they finally got the chance to explore in this episode.
Yeah, even
and that's
under
great.
this context. But it's very funny. I do love his little face. It's very like shitposty.
Yeah, and it makes me kind of wonder that, I wonder if maybe some of this is something to do with maybe by the time they were animating and shit, the script was already done, so they knew what was going to happen, and maybe some of that is some form of, like, rebellion against this being a bad episode.
Maybe.
I mean, that's maybe a bit of a stretch, but I think that's interesting, because, like, if I was working on the animation team, I think I might be more inclined to just, like, be like, well, if I'm going to be a part of this and I don't like it, I'm going to, try and instill my own little personality into it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I do love Darwin's face, too, when he, like, holds his cheeks up. Like, we see him do that a few times. I do think it's kind of precious.
Tip did not like that, our viewer, but
this little
it.
frame?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I think it's kind of
alongside
precious.
the scream at the end, which I have completely opposite
Gumball
opinions
scream?
on. No, Darwin's.
Oh.
Like, crying.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, they start the roller coaster, and they do this tropey thing where Darwin says something, Gumball hears something, but it's not the same thing. It sounds very similar, and it's like very overdone. I was kind of like, oh, okay.
It's whatever. It's setting up the joke. It's
it's
all
a good
right,
payoff,
but it's
but I don't really care for this part.
But yeah, they zoom out, so we see the first instance, I think, of them just using like little colored squares to represent the characters, which is so funny.
It's a very strange little detail, but I do love it.
It's very strange because I wonder, because this was made for HD, so it's very obvious, You can tell on the broadcasts, this is not a case of higher resolution and later re-releases is making it like more obvious.
No, it's a choice, for sure.
Which I love. I love that they're just simplified once you get out to that size, and it's
like
so
a video
funny.
game, kind
of.
of.
It's kind of like level of detail. But they get up to the top, and it holds for a long moment as Darwin says, "I love you," and Gumball's terrified of it. He screams immediately as soon as the roller coaster starts accelerating down the hill, and it is very funny.
Yeah, I do. At least Gumball's reaction is horror. There's that at least.
Pure horror.
There's that, thankfully. He's immediately like, no. What are you doing up here, Nut?
We've got another friend. Now we have Peanut.
Hi, baby. She's coming up because it's way past bedtime. So she usually comes to get me from my desk by like 9:30, and it's almost 11.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we are really far behind. I have to get up at 5 in the morning, so...
This is what we do.
Guys,
we love Gumball
if you're listening and you've gotten this far into this episode, please know the love that I'm putting into this and the personal sacrifice I had to make to be here right now.
Yeah, honestly, if you've made 2 hours and 16 minutes into this and you're still invested, you are a blessed soul.
You are excellent.
But anyway, we're almost done, so let's
We are
wrap
almost done. Let's get this bread.
So yeah, Anais has the picture. Gumball's immediately like, no,
Who paid for that? Those are expensive.
Yeah. Darwin probably.
Yeah.
He probably immediately got off the ride and was like, oh, can I have the picture?
Absolutely.
And then Anais took it or something.
But yeah, so Gumball is just like finally realizing there's consequences to his actions, and Anais is like, oh, I told you this was going to be the case. And Gumball's like, well, no, maybe if I just ignore it, it'll go away. And Anais is like, do you really think that that's going to happen? And it causes Gumball to kind of stumble back and like think. And he imagines a future where these two have had sex numerous times and created children.
And Gumball has been impregnated
multiple times. Which is, again, this is his brother. Very gross.
Weird.
But don't hit that play button yet. I got a long thing.
Oh,
here.
no, that's fine. I just wanted to bring Darwin into the frame.
First off, I'm going to get the small one. There's a picture of Larry on the wall for some reason.
Yeah.
So I guess like these two in this hypothetical future have some sort of connection with Larry that like they get along. Maybe Larry's a fan of Mpreg.
Is this just a clothesline from the earlier?
Yeah, that's how they do their clothes. they can't even do it outside. They don't have a yard.
Though.
Yeah, they do recycle.
They do recycle.
Now I've heard people on the internet. I've heard fan theories that Gumball is transmasc and Penny is trans femme. And I think this could be seen as some level of evidence for it, that Gumball thinks like that it is possible for him to get pregnant. And maybe it is. Maybe he's transmasc.
Yeah.
I don't personally hold to that theory, but
people have mentioned
it's very interesting, yeah. Because this is some evidence. Like, this right here could definitely instill a headcanon for someone, and I think that's cute. That I can appreciate.
Yeah. But, what else do you got for this? Anything else for this little bit?
Larry, one other thing. I think Gumball is right. I think Darwin would want a lot of children.
Yeah, probably.
I think he loves kids.
He's like, more kids!
Yeah, he's a bit of a jerk in this, but I guess it's because Gumball is trying to imagine, like, the worst scenario possible.
Yeah, and then Darwin is the
the
maker.
working, the bread maker, and he has to stay at home mom.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he's obviously immediately kind of
And he's traumatized by it. He kind of, like, realizes how bad that is and cries.
Yeah, and then Richard appears.
Richard, yeah, as we get out of this kind of, like, imagination scene and get back into the real world, Richard has found his way onto the couch and he's just staring.
Yeah, he's just looking.
Even he doesn't know that this is his son.
Yeah, I don't like the gag where he's like, Dad, it's me. He's like, oh, hey, Dad, it's me. Is she from Europe or something?
I really wish he would have just been like, oh, hey, son, you really do rock that dress.
Yeah, and he fucking would later.
Yeah, he would. Mm-hmm. That would be so cute. But so basically Gumball's like, I don't want to lose this power, so I'm going to have to find a way to, like, lose the character. I don't want people to find out that I was the one in the dress.
Yeah, so he hosts this, like, false goodbye. I like this pole that Anais is holding up that's connected to the bus stop sign.
Yeah, that's how they hold it up. Cute. That is very funny.
And there's, like, a poorly written little goodbye sign that Gumball definitely probably wrote.
Yeah, goodbye, Gumball. Oops, egg wobble underpants.
It's kind of
Come back soon.
Come back soon. And then everyone's, like, shocked. And
everyone's like, what? You're leaving?
Yeah. And he's like, it's because
the king of Europe needs me. And I thought, like, this is another thing where it's like season 1's a little too cartoony for my taste. It's not realistic enough. I do not believe that all of these children would be fooled by the lie that it's the king of Europe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that.
Cartoony.
I feel like that's definitely something where in later seasons that would happen, and like Penny or something would be like, that's not true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Penny would have been like, Europe is a continent, not a...
She would have been like, Gumball, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is just them as their kids here.
Maybe.
We grow into it, you know?
I just don't care for that.
But no, I agree, though. It is very cartoony, and that's this whole shtick. This whole thing is just one big cartoon. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously, but, like, it's just so much. But anyway, so Gumball has this balloon. I love the balloon.
Here's the even worse is, like, how would they believe this when these two are very plainly talking about the plan
right in the open.
Front of them?
Yeah, I got that thought, too.
They're literally at the exact same distance, talking at the exact same volume they were using when they were talking to the kids, just facing each other so suddenly they don't hear.
Yeah, I had that thought too.
I don't like that.
But yeah, so he gets into the bus, and Anais is like, blah, 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 don't forget about Darwin. And then we see that Rocky's driving the bus.
Rocky's going along with this.
Is he aware that it's Gumball?
I think so. I think he got I like to think that he got it explained to him, and that he's just in on it. Realistically, based on, like, the pattern, probably no.
Yeah.
But I like to think that he is aware.
He's probably like, hey, Gumball.
Oh, hey, Gumball, you want me to do that? That's right, little dude.
He absolutely would.
I'm glad to help you, little dude.
Then Darwin comes back into the scene, and he's, of course, like, heartbroken.
I do like how they depict that with, like, the little hard eyes come back and they shatter.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, Gumball makes, like, a dummy with a balloon with his face poorly drawn on it, which is very funny to look at.
I do like it.
And it's got the dress on it, and Darwin's like, you look even more beautiful every time I see you, which is very funny. But also, I wondered, do you think this, like, balloon-based decoy would be offensive to Alan?
Yeah, he's not in the scene. I wonder if
do you think that's inappropriate?
He'd be like,
Is that like balloon blackface?
Yes, baby. Alan's not in the scene. They didn't want to bring those politics into it.
Yeah.
they were like, well, if we bring him in here, we're gonna have to confront the fact that he's looking at a balloon.
Yeah, because, like, I guess that leads to where the kind of overarching question that's never really answered is, what do these species represent in, like, the real world? What are they directly analogous to? And I think that's, like, inconsistent throughout the show.
Yeah.
They can represent a bunch of different things, but I don't think it's unrealistic to say that, at least in some cases, they are representative of race. Mm-hmm. And in that sense, like, imagine what that would be like with the balloon, I guess. I guess maybe it would be, like, kind of weirdly, like, an opposite blackface.
Yeah.
where you're trying to make a character who is explicitly like not like a person of color with some. It's it's where the analogy breaks down when you really think about it. But it's a funny thought, that's the kind of question I want them to ask when they're at the writers' room, because I think that leads to a better show.
Yeah, and they will later on.
They will.
Not here. But yeah, so he tells Darwin he's leaving. Darwin is obviously heartbroken, and I know. So he's here. He's like, "Well, take me with you," and I'm like, "Why would Gumball? He would not just leave his brother."
Yeah, Gumball would like refuse that.
Yeah, and like I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, no, it's just another part. But, another thing, he goes to leave out the back, like, out of window, and he definitely, certainly, absolutely pulls that string in. Despite that, when we cut, the balloon hasn't moved at all.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
I don't know.
But it's to set up this whole thing. The string gets snapped, and the balloon slowly rises towards the sun.
I do love
and
the
they
sun's
all
looking at
think she's like an angel floating up into the sky. And eventually the balloon pops, and they all just witness
what they would die.
Yeah, they would think that's a death. But everyone's just like, ooh.
Rip.
And I thought,
yeah.
obviously by the gag they do at the end of the episode, the dress did not like burn up or get damaged or anything. But I thought, like, if that did, Nicole would have been so pissed.
She was like, what did you boys do to my wedding dress?
What did you do to my wedding dress,
like,
boys?
It got burned up in the sun. But,
also, do you think that Darwin would have the hots for Nicole if she put that on? Oh. Do you think he finds her attractive?
He has the
maybe he's got the Oedipus complex.
Would be a Electra complex. No, that's
Yeah, you got it backwards.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was like, wait a second, no, right. But yeah. So Gumball, or Darwin's devastated. Gumball is naked again. Again, walks over and not apologizes, but he just kind of... I do love the scrap of the balloon that comes down.
I will say, though, again, Darwin's vocal performance here for the cry is really good.
I mean, he's like really upset about it.
Again, it feels real. It feels raw. It feels true, which is, again, a thing that's really hard to kind of get realistically in a show, like a kid's show.
But Gumball does a good job of sort of cheering him up. He's like, why don't we go home and put ourselves on ice and slide down the stairs?
Yeah, he's ready to just, like, go back into his old role, and he wants his brother back. And it works.
I love his little, okay. It's so cute.
That's very sweet.
It's such a nice little vocal performance.
He is still heartbroken, but he's
his voice
ready to
actor
move
indicates
on.
that very well.
Yeah, it's great. And I love that in universe, Gumball is capable of helping Darwin through breakup and heartbreak that quickly.
And they do that throughout the show. Like they're always like there. When
they're always there for each other. I think my favorite kind of example of that type of thing will always be I don't remember what episode this is, but there's the one gag where they're kind of running through the water purifying plant. They go through like the toilet all the way into bottled water, and the whole time those two are just arguing, but it's like a very productive fight. And eventually they get to the point where they're like, I love you, and he's like, I love you too. And they're just kind of fighting, but they eventually come to like a conflict resolution, and that is like my favorite representation of them as brothers. I can't wait till we get to that.
Yeah, not this shit.
Not this. And Darwin falls in love with a fire hydrant because the dress falls on it. Again, maybe another example of this being like a cursed item. Maybe it truly is a dress that's like illusion altering, but it really does just read that Darwin is just stupid. Wants to fuck that dress. And I don't. Again, I really don't like it. It feels out of character for Darwin. It feels weird and gross.
And the episode ends with everyone seeing Gumball naked, and he's like,
I love that like Tina's the one who keeps bringing stuff up like this. She keeps being the one amongst the group who speaks up. But it's so funny. I love her voice. I didn't notice until we started rewatching this for the podcast, but anytime she speaks, they have not only the deep like pitch altered speech, but there's also like growls and stuff. It's so funny.
I noticed it too. It's very, very funny and very cute.
I love that.
But I thought everyone laughs. Even Alan's there all of a sudden.
Yeah, Alan is there. So maybe he just didn't want to watch the balloon thing.
And that's where the episode ends. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. We are finally finished with, I think, probably the worst episode of the show.
The series, for sure.
Though, despite being the worst the show gets, I do have some fun and interesting critique that is positive. So, I already talked about how there's some possible transness to the show with Gumball being possibly transmasked to explain away the whole pregnancy gag. And I have some more kind of perspectives from me personally as a trans woman. So Gumball wearing the dress and instantly being viewed as kind of like cute and alluring and pretty. To me, you know, as a trans woman, I feel it's a very fun concept to kind of play with.
Yeah.
Even in a bad episode like this, I love when cartoons do this stuff in general. This is an example of what they call the attractive bent gender trope.
Okay.
And that's what they call it on TV tropes
I
if
didn't
you
know
want to
that was
look it
the
up.
official name for it.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I have to say that from my childhood, this is what should have been a sign that I was trans. I was obsessed with gender benders in general, and you can attest to that because I talked about it a weird amount. But also, anytime a cartoon I grew up with did like a gender bender type thing like this, I loved it. I remember, like, in particular, an example would be, like, Codename Kids Next Door had an episode where all the boys got turned into girls. And I was like, that doesn't seem dystopian to me.
Fairly Odd Parents one?
Fairly Odd Parents. But, of course, I was only interested when the boys turned into girls. I was never interested in ones where girls turn into boys. I really appreciate that, and while this episode doesn't really have that for me because I'm an adult now and I'm not really connecting with that, and I don't need something to latch onto with that idea because, you know, I recognize I'm trans now instead of being unsure of what I was back then. I do feel like if I had grown up with this show, if I was like, you know, SpongeBob age when this came out, I think that this episode would hold a more... Like, it would hold that place in my heart where places or things go where they're obviously bad and problematic, but you still love them because they were just an important part of your childhood. And I think that's where this would be for me if I was just a little bit younger.
Yeah, if we were just like 4 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
That's very sweet. That's very nice. Anything else?
That's pretty much it. I just wanted to say my trans thing, and that's it. We are at the end of the end and the end of the dress.
Yes, now 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours,
Sorry
guys.
for the long episode, but we just had so much to talk about.
I hope you guys see
enjoyed
the value in that extra amount of time that's spent on, like, the interesting critiques.
Yeah, because we could absolutely just be like, let's just condense this into, like, 2 hours.
because we could just, you know, give you a synopsis of the show and make, like, notes and talk about the interesting things. But I really do want to have that where if a really interesting dialogue about the world or the show or something kind of spins off from what is in the episode itself, I want to express that and I want to get into that and I want to talk about that because I think that's the type of community and conversation that we're looking to foster in the Gumball community. Yeah. Obviously, now we know we are certainly not the first ones to do that, but like I said, I'm hoping we can join that list of motivators that maybe get other people to talk about it.
Yeah, this is a lot about talking about how the show relates to us and our experiences, and it's very much, it's not just we're going to talk about the episode, review it, and talk about what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, move on to the next one. This show is so near and dear to us that we want this to very much just be like an open table conversation. Yep. Where we talk about a topic because this episode brings that up. That's just kind of how we are.
And I'm hoping that maybe perhaps the longevity and like depth of our conversations on this podcast is hopefully mirrored in the fact that our comments so far have been very long and detailed, and I'm hoping that that's because we're fostering that energy and we're bringing that to the table, and that's what people are coming here for.
Well, hopefully, even if this is a 2.5 hour long podcast, hopefully at least maybe keeps you company on a long drive or at work or something.
I know I would certainly appreciate that if it was a podcast I really liked on my own. Yeah. I know I'd appreciate it, so I hope it does that for some other people.
Yeah. But that's it, guys. Follow us on Twitter at Talpod, and we'll be back next week for 2 more episodes.
We don't know what they are yet.
I looked them up earlier and I've already forgotten.
Well, you'll know. You'll know when it's important.
Bye!